Chapter 330. Naturally, Foundation establishment cultivators could not be used to defend the city, but to deal with enemy Foundation establishment cultivators under the protection of the formation. Liang Liang, a Zifu realm cultivator, was a great weapon. If the enemy did not send Zifu realm cultivators or third-order flying warships, there was no need for him to fight. After Wang Daoyuan and the others set up camp at the three eastern fortresses, a few days passed. It was still peaceful, and there was not even a shadow to be seen south of the fortresses. However, flying warships could be seen flying over their heads every day. These flying warships were responsible for patrolling everywhere to prevent enemy sneak attacks. Of course, there were also warships that went to the easternmost fortress. There were small-scale battles almost every day, and there would be a more intense battle every few days. Even if the enemy came to harass them, they had to send flying warships over. If the enemy turned their act into reality, it would be terrible. As long as there was movement from Song, the flying warships from Zhao would have to set off. However, these flying warships were not afraid of being intercepted midway. After all, the entire mountain range was protected by more than 10 formations, and the flying warship's flight path was always within the range of the formations. If Song dared to enter the formations to intercept them, Zhao would be so happy that they would give up as many golden core cultivators as they sent. The enemy's harassment could only make them waste more spirit stones. Half a month after Wang Daoyuan took over the three eastern fortresses, the enemy finally made some movements. A few Foundation establishment cultivators were sneakily peeping at more than 500 feet away from the fortress. This distance was beyond the shooting range of second-order high-grade demon extermination crossbows, and the spells of Foundation establishment cultivators could not reach them. The third-order demon extermination crossbows could shoot that far, but it was not worth it to release such a powerful weapon for these small fries. Moreover, the three eastern fortresses were located closer to the south of the canyon. 500 feet south of the city was already out of the range of the mountain range, and they could not go out to deal with them casually. Wang Daoyuan only reminded everyone to be vigilant, as the enemy could attack at any time. He also asked a few older Foundation establishment cultivators to keep an eye on the situation outside the fortress. Foundation establishment cultivators did not need to sleep, but they needed to cultivate. For older cultivators, there was no more hope for their Dao path, so there was no point in cultivating. Wang Daoyuan promised to give them more resources, so they gladly agreed to give up on cultivating and wholeheartedly observe the enemy. The main city of Wucheng Pass would send supplies every few days to ensure the daily life and cultivation of the cultivators stationed there. Wang Daoyuan, as the supreme commander of the three forts in the east, naturally handed these things to him and he distributed them to everyone. This was the main reason why Wang Daoyuan and Liang Liang were fighting for power. If the right to distribute the supplies fell into Liang Liang's hands, the cultivators of the old family would be in for a miserable time. However, Wang Daoyuan did not use his position to avenge his personal grudge. Even if they were from a foreign family, they were treated equally when distributing resources. In the face of a great enemy, they needed to maintain internal unity as much as possible. There was no need to resort to such petty tricks. Over the next few days, the enemy's Foundation establishment cultivators became more and more active, as if a storm was coming. After more than 10 days, the enemy finally began to serve the main course. On a foggy morning, a rolling sound came from the southern end of the valley, as if something heavy was rolling on the ground. It was just that under the thick fog, it was impossible to see the situation in the distance. Spiritual sense was not afraid of this ordinary fog, but the place where the sound came from was still relatively far away. The mountain path was not a straight path, which affected the detection range of spiritual sense. On this mountain path, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense detection range was only about 3,000 feet. 3,000 feet was already within the range of the second-grade demon exterminating crossbow. If the enemy came with the demon exterminating crossbow, by the time he discovered the enemy's demon exterminating crossbow would have already hit his head. Wang Daoyuan roared, "Everyone, prepare for battle." The Qi disciple cultivators who were still dozing off and the Foundation establishment cultivators who were meditating immediately became alert and walked to the city wall. Wang Daoyuan mobilized the wood and water attribute spiritual power, fusing them together to form the wind attribute spiritual power, and then cast the first-grade wind attribute spell, Wild Wind Technique. Wang Daoyuan used the 5 elements spiritual power to fuse the 3 types of spiritual power. Casting the 3 types of spells was relatively slow, and not very reliable in actual combat. But casting the wind attribute spell to disperse the fog was very practical. The wind blew for a full 100 breaths of time, but only blew away the fog within 2,000 feet. This was very abnormal, although Wild Wind Technique did not have any lethality and could only blow the wind, the effective range was extremely long. With his strong spiritual power casting Wild Wind Technique, under normal circumstances, the fog within 3,000 feet should have been completely dispersed. Now it only blew away the fog within 2,000 feet. Either the fog was not natural or someone was suppressing his spell. Either way, it meant that the enemy was about to make a move. Wang Daoyuan immediately sent a message to Hallmaster Gu, reporting the situation here and asking for support. The rolling sound was getting closer and closer, and soon it was more than 3,000 feet away. He used his spiritual sense, but still could not detect the situation over there. Since his spiritual sense could not detect, he changed his method of detection. He condensed the earth and fire attribute spiritual power between his hands. This was to use the meteor fall technique to test the waters. After 5 breaths, the spiritual power was condensed. 10 flaming meteorites flew out of the spiritual power one after another, smashing towards the place where the sound came from. Ordinary spells could only be cast within the range of spiritual sense control. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense control range was less than 3,000 feet in the absence of external obstacles. To attack something 3,000 feet away, there was no accuracy. However, the meteor fall technique was more special, it used the earth attribute spiritual power to condense real stones. After this thing was shot out, it was like throwing a stone, it could be used without spiritual sense control, the attack range was extremely long, but the accuracy was a bit poor. The enemy also pushed over a big guy, it would not be too flexible, so it did not matter if the accuracy was poor. After half a breath, more than 3,000 feet away in the south, 10, clang clang, sounds like stones hitting steel came. The last sound was broken, accompanied by a few screams. This was breaking something of the enemy, and it also affected a few people. The cultivators stationed on the city wall all shouted good. It seemed that the thing that made the rolling sound should be something refined with some kind of metal material. The lethality of the flaming meteorite was 20 times that of the second-rank mid-grade golden knife talisman, and 10 times that of the second-rank high-grade golden knife talisman. This thing was equivalent to taking 90 pieces of the second-rank high-grade golden knife talisman, and then it was broken. This strength was far beyond the general second-rank high-grade magical weapon, it should be the level of the third-rank low-grade magical weapon. After another half a cup of tea's time, the rolling sound appeared again. Wang Daoyuan once again used the meteor fall technique, but it did not hit anything. After 100 breaths, the enemy entered within 3,000 feet, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense could already detect it. He saw a few strange cars appear in the south of the city. The car was more than 3 feet long and about 1 foot wide, it was covered with a thick tortoiseshell-like metal shell. The metal tortoiseshell was engraved with a third-rank tool pattern, it seemed that it was this tortoiseshell that blocked the flaming meteorite. Wang Daoyuan once again used the meteor fall technique, hitting one of the cars. As soon as the flaming meteorite was shot out, 3 cultivators at the peak of the Foundation establishment realm rushed out and blocked all 10 flaming meteorites. One of the Foundation establishment realm cultivators mocked, this flaming meteorite is still not enough. Daoyu, did you not eat enough? Is the power of the spell only so little? Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, reckless things, you dare to play psychological tactics with me, I'll let you know what is called the immensity of heaven and earth. He transmitted his voice to the cultivators controlling the second-rank high-grade demon-destroying crossbows. In a while, see where my meteorites hit, you control the crossbows to aim there. Listen to my orders, when I tell you to release, you release, not too early or too late. The cultivators controlling the crossbows responded in unison. Chapter 331. Among the cultivators present, there were very few who could use their divine senses to probe beyond 3,000 feet. Even most Foundation establishment cultivators couldn't do it, let alone Qi refinement cultivators. Even if they could control the demon exterminating crossbows to shoot beyond 3,000 feet, everything would be in vain if they couldn't see where the target was. Wang Daoyuan's flaming meteorites could guide them. He condensed a ball of spirit power in his hands and smashed it towards the armored car. As expected, the three-peak Foundation establishment cultivators came out to block the flaming meteorites again. While they were condensing their spirit power, Wang Daoyuan shouted, "Fire!" 32nd grade superior grade demon exterminating crossbows fired at the same time, aiming at the direction of his meteorites. One of the three-peak Foundation establishment cultivators reacted quickly and fled on his sword. The other two didn't react and continued to cast spells to break the flaming meteorites. After breaking 5 meteorites, they were hit by the light beams of the 30 demon exterminating crossbows. After the light beams, the two disappeared into thin air, leaving only dozens of sword fragments on the ground. The remaining 5 flaming meteorites were blocked by more than 10 flying swords. Unfortunately, the enemy's armored car was blocked by rocks. The demon exterminating crossbows could only attack in a straight line and couldn't hit the armored car behind the rocks. Wang Daoyuan's flaming meteorites could change their direction slightly and hit the armored car behind the rocks, but they were far less powerful than the demon exterminating crossbows. The enemy didn't dare to block the demon exterminating crossbows, but there were many experts who could take the flaming meteorites head-on. The flaming meteorites alone weren't enough to cause much damage to the enemy. The Earth Divine Thunder could cause great damage to the enemy, but Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to use it at all. Now, the enemy Foundation establishment cultivators had learned their lesson and didn't show themselves at all. They only relied on their flying swords to shoot down the flaming meteorites, so the demon exterminating crossbows were useless. The armor on the enemy's armored car opened up like a beetle spreading its wings, revealing huge crossbows on the originally armored car. These huge crossbows were about the same size as demon exterminating crossbows, but demon exterminating crossbows relied on spirit power beams and didn't have bolts. However, these huge crossbows had long bolts. Several Qi refinement cultivators loaded the huge crossbows with mid-grade spirit stones. Apart from mid-grade spirit stones, using these huge crossbows also had to consume bolts. The price was even higher. However, the benefits were also very obvious. It was more powerful and could be shot out. Wang Daoyuan shouted, "The enemy is attacking the city with crossbow bolts. All Qi refinement cultivators, hide well. Foundation establishment cultivators, prepare to shoot down the bolts with flying swords." The two Daoyu controlling the formation could use the formation to shoot down the arrows at any time. Lower all the demon exterminating crossbows. Don't reveal yourselves. The demon extermination crossbows were placed on a platform that could be raised. When attacking, the demon extermination crossbows would be raised. When he needed to hide, he would lower the demon extermination crossbow to a position lower than the city wall to avoid attacks. Everyone agreed in unison. The cultivator controlling the demon extermination crossbow quickly lowered it below the city wall and squatted down. The other Qi refinement cultivators either squatted or lay down, leaning against the city wall to cover their bodies. All the Foundation establishment cultivators took out their flying swords, ready to attack at any time. The array formation was activated in an instant, and an intense killing intent enveloped the entire fortress. One of the enemy Peak Foundation establishment cultivators shouted, "Fire," and the cultivator controlling the armored chariot immediately shot the huge crossbow. 12 crossbow arrows that were more than 10 feet long flew towards the city wall with a sharp sound. The Foundation establishment cultivators on their side also took out their flying swords and attacked forward. When the crossbow arrows entered the range of 2,000 feet, more than 30 flying swords strangled them together. Unfortunately, the crossbow arrows were too powerful. Wang Daoyuan's spirit energy was strong and his spirit consciousness was stronger than that of ordinary Peak Foundation establishment cultivators. Furthermore, he cultivated the sword control technique of sword cultivators. However, he still needed to attack 4 or 5 times before he could shoot down a crossbow arrow. There was no need to mention the other cultivators. 3 flying swords attacked a crossbow arrow at the same time and they could not shoot it down no matter how many times they attacked. The crossbow arrows were extremely fast and did not give them much time. In the blink of an eye, they had reached the city wall. Fortunately, the attacks of the Foundation establishment cultivators' flying swords weakened the power of the crossbow arrows. When the crossbow arrows hit the city wall, they did not have much power left and lost their accuracy. 8 or 9 crossbow arrows hit the city wall, leaving only a few white marks. The enemy Qi refinement cultivators quickly replaced the spirit stones installed on the crossbow carts and the second wave of crossbow arrows descended. Wang Daoyuan and the others once again took out their flying swords to block, but the enemy Foundation establishment cultivators did not just stand by and watch. More than 40 flying swords flew out at the same time and entangled the flying swords of Wang Daoyuan and the others. 12 crossbow arrows flew straight towards the city wall. At this moment, the killing intent of the entire fortress increased tremendously. 6 flying swords flew out and slashed at the crossbow arrows. Very quickly, 6 crossbow arrows were cut and the remaining 6 arrows hit the city wall's battlements accurately. Fortunately, these city walls were made of large rocks. The strength of these rocks was comparable to that of superior grade 2 magic weapons. There were also grade 3 tool patterns inscribed on them and their strength was not inferior to that of inferior grade 3 defensive magic weapons. However, these crossbow arrows were not to be trifled with. Although they were fired from superior grade 2 crossbows, the crossbow arrows were not simple superior grade 2 magic weapons. The arrowheads were inscribed with inferior grade 3 armor-piercing tool patterns. The 6 crossbow arrows nailed into the city wall and pierced 3 inches deep. The battlements were more than 3 feet thick, but this did not mean that the enemy would need to attack the same enemy 10 times to shatter them. If these crossbow arrows pierced into the city wall, it was very likely that they would damage the defensive tool patterns on the rocks. Once the defensive tool patterns were completely ineffective, the rock's strength would drop to that of a superior grade 2 magic weapon. Under the attack of an inferior grade 3 crossbow arrow, a single crossbow arrow might be able to pierce through 3 feet of rock. At that time, the city wall would be useless and the demon exterminating crossbows would not be able to survive. All the Qi refinement cultivators would also have to flee. Only the Foundation establishment cultivators would be left to rely on the formation to fight the enemy Foundation establishment cultivators and the crossbows. The formation cores of the Gold Fiend Soul Severing Formation were also inside the fortress. If the city walls were destroyed, if the crossbow arrows accidentally hit the formation cores, the entire formation would be destroyed. Wang Daoyuan shouted angrily, "The 2 Daoyu controlling the formation, is this all you've got? Why don't you use your grade 3 magic weapons to block the crossbow arrows? If you can't do it, then scram. I'll personally control the formation." At this moment, the enemy crossbow arrows attacked again. 6 superior grade 2 flying swords and 1 inferior grade 3 flying sword flew out. The inferior grade 3 flying sword's power was extraordinary. It cut through 3 crossbow arrows with one sword. However, 3 crossbow arrows were still nailed to the city wall. The defensive tool patterns on one of the rocks were completely destroyed by the crossbow arrows. Wang Daoyuan walked straight to the core formation core and said coldly, "Get out of the way." "I'll do it." The Foundation Establishment cultivator who was not controlling the formation was somewhat dissatisfied. It's already very difficult for a Foundation Establishment cultivator to control a grade 3 magic weapon. Do you know how to control a formation? The cultivator controlling the formation remained at his post and continued to control the flying swords to block the crossbow arrows. A scream came from outside. A rock on the city wall was pierced through, injuring the Qi refinement cultivator behind it. Wang Daoyuan sneered. "I'm a superior grade 3 formation master. Give me enough materials and I can set up a formation even better than the Gold Fiend Soul Severing formation. You think this formation is very advanced just because you changed 3 formation cores so that they can control inferior grade 3 magic weapons?" Hearing him say the formation's name and even know how to improve it, the 2 Foundation Establishment cultivators immediately got out of the way and handed the formation to him. Wang Daoyuan immediately sat at the core formation core and injected a stream of spirit energy into it. At this moment, the enemy fired another volley. He controlled 6 superior grade 2 flying swords and 1 inferior grade 3 flying sword to fly out at the same time. The power of 6 superior grade 2 magic weapons was really not enough. They could only cut through 1 crossbow arrow. Wang Daoyuan did not increase the amount of spirit energy he injected into the 6 flying swords. Instead, he injected a large amount of spirit energy and spiritual sense into the inferior grade 3 flying sword. The inferior grade 3 flying sword flickered with a dazzling golden light. It rapidly moved outside the city and actually cut through 6 crossbow arrows. This time, none of the enemy's 12 crossbow arrows hit the city wall. Chapter 332. The enemy fired another round of shots. Wang Daoyuan controlled the formation more smoothly and easily blocked the 12 crossbow bolts. With the power of Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense, it could only be said that it was a little difficult to control a third-order magic weapon through the formation. But for an ordinary cultivator in the late Foundation Establishment stage, it could only be done with all their strength. The enemy wanted to fight a war of attrition to exhaust Wang Daoyuan's spiritual power and spiritual sense. There was no need to consider spiritual power at all. Most of the spiritual power of the flying sword attack was provided by the formation, so he consumed very little spiritual power. But at the same time, controlling 7 flying swords to attack at the same time, including a third-order low-grade flying sword, the consumption of spiritual sense was still very large. Spiritual power was easy to recover. After drinking a few mouthfuls of spirit peach dew, his spiritual power began to recover in a dozen breaths. The recovery of spiritual sense was more troublesome. When he was outside, he could directly eat the lotus seed, but he couldn't take it out here. Besides, even if he ate the lotus seed, it needed to be refined for it to take effect. It would take at least half a quarter of an hour. It seemed that in the future, he needed to study a spirit wine that could restore spiritual sense, or a magic weapon that could preserve spiritual sense like the spirit gathering bead. At present, he could only eat a few second-order spirit awakening pills, which were also used to restore spiritual sense. It was just that the recovery time was relatively slow, at least a quarter of an hour of refining. The practical significance was not great, but it was better than nothing. Wang Daoyuan blocked 7 rounds of the enemy's bombardment in a row, and his spiritual sense had been consumed by more than half. From the time he reported the enemy's situation to Temple Master Gu, half a cup of tea's time had passed, and the flying warship should be arriving soon. Now it was a race for time to see if he could not hold on first or the reinforcements would arrive first. The enemy took advantage of the fog to attack, and they would definitely not only attack the 3 eastern fortresses. The other fortresses were likely to be attacked. Looking at the other party's unhurried appearance, the 3 eastern fortresses should not be the main target. Otherwise, if they directly sent a few Zifu realm cultivators to rush in, the strength of the 3 eastern fortresses would not last long. Therefore, all the flying warships were delayed in the main attack fortress, and it was very likely that they would not come to support. If it continued like this, he would definitely not be able to hold on for long. However, he was already prepared. If he couldn't hold on any longer, he would escape with his clansmen. He had been carrying the Jade Spring on his person this entire time. So long as no Zifu disciples came to pursue him, it wouldn't be too much of a problem for him to take away the cultivators of his clan. Another wave of crossbow bolts came. Wang Daoyuan did not intend to use the old method to forcefully withstand it. Instead, he deliberately weakened the power of the Tier 3 flying sword. This time, the Tier 3 flying sword only cut down 5 crossbow bolts. The last crossbow bolt did not manage to reach the city walls. Instead, it was blocked by Wang Daoyuan's Tier 2 high-grade shield. The shield was also an array-suppressing Dharma artifact. However, the Gold Fiend soul-severing array was a purely offensive Dharma array and did not have a defensive light barrier. If he wanted to defend himself, he could only rely on his defensive magic artifact. After a few of these attacks, his defensive magic artifact would not be able to withstand it. This was also to lure the enemy into taking the risk and then give the enemy a vicious blow. In order to make his disguise more convincing, Wang Daoyuan even transmitted his voice to Liang Liang, "Elder Liang, help me block 2 crossbow bolts." Liang Liang replied via voice transmission, "Why should I attack? I don't have many years left to live anyway. If I can drag the 2 geniuses of the Wang clan down with me, it will be worth it." Wang Daoyuan already knew that this old fellow was up to no good. He threatened via voice transmission, "If the 12th uncle and I can return safely, the Wang clan will become a Golden Core clan sooner or later. They can go to the Heaven Beheading Mountain range to establish their territory. There is no need to keep an eye on your Liang clan's territory. The Liang clan can exist as a subsidiary clan of the Wang clan in the future. A Golden Core clan, accommodating the Liang clan is nothing. If the 12th uncle and I do not return, the Wang clan will at most be a Zifu clan. It is very difficult to establish the Heaven Beheading Mountain range. We can only fight for a small advantage in the northern part of Qingli County. At that time, if we don't destroy your Liang clan, how can my Wang clan be at ease? If you pay the price of not having any descendants and destroy my Wang clan's future, what will the Liang clan gain? The ones who benefit will only be the foreign faction. After you die, will the foreign faction still take the Liang clan seriously?" After hearing this, Liang Liang was silent. He was the clearest about the moral character of the foreign faction. They were a group of profit-seeking fellows. They simply would not care about the Liang clan that did not have a Zifu realm cultivator overseeing it. Wang Daoyuan blocked another 2 waves of crossbow bolts. When the 3rd wave of crossbow bolts was about to descend, Liang Liang snorted coldly and controlled a green-black longsword to strike out. Liang Liang was worthy of being a veteran Zifu realm cultivator. Although his talent was not much, his strength was still not bad. A single sword strike broke 9 crossbow bolts. With this, Wang Daoyuan was relaxed. He only needed to control 3 high-grade Tier 2 flying swords. A burst of laughter came from outside the city. "Dao Yu, why do you need to get involved in a fight between Foundation Establishment juniors? Let me accompany Dao Yu to play." Finished speaking, a fiery red longsword met Liang Liang's flying sword and fought in the air. This flying sword was a low-grade Tier 3 flying sword. Looking at the spirit energy fluctuation on the flying sword, the opponent was only an early-stage Zifu realm cultivator and was not a match for Liang Liang. However, Liang Liang was a wood attribute cultivator. His attack power was too weak and was unable to end the battle quickly. Seeing this situation, Wang Daoyuan was not alarmed but instead delighted. He had finally caught a big fish. He immediately sent a sound transmission to Liang Liang. "Stall this flying sword. I'll use a formation to control 2 low-grade tier 3 flying swords and give it a fierce blow. Even if we can't cripple it, we have to heavily injure it." Liang Liang did not speak. He only extended 2 green vines from his long sword and entangled the fiery red tier 3 flying sword. The opportunity had come. Wang Daoyuan poured as much spirit energy and spiritual sense as possible into the 2 low-grade tier 3 flying swords. The 2 swords flew out from the eye of the formation and chopped towards the fiery red longsword. A burst of violent spirit energy fluctuation appeared on the fiery red longsword, wanting to burn the vines and avoid the attack. Wood attribute cultivators' attack power and defense power were not good, but they were quite formidable in disgusting people. In addition, Liang Liang's cultivation was higher than his opponent's. It was simply impossible for his opponent to escape. The 2 flying swords controlled by Wang Daoyuan chopped at the fiery red longsword at the same time. The fiery red longsword did not break, only becoming much dimmer. It did not even have the strength to struggle. Wang Daoyuan still had the strength to spare. He poured all of his spirit energy and spiritual sense into the 2 flying swords and chopped at the fiery red longsword again. This time, the fiery red longsword was not spared. It was directly chopped in 2. A miserable cry came from outside the city. Afterwards, several people shouted, "Senior, what happened?" Wang Daoyuan was somewhat surprised. Could it be that the fiery red longsword that was chopped in 2 was a Zifu disciple's lifebound magic weapon? Lifebound magic weapons were magic weapons that only Zifu disciple and above could forge. After recognizing an owner, they would normally be stored in the Dantian to be nurtured. Lifebound magic weapons could follow the increase in the owner's cultivation level and continuously increase in grade. Its power would also far surpass ordinary magic weapons of the same grade. Of course, when a lifebound magic weapon was destroyed, the owner would also suffer a backlash. Seeing that this old fellow's flying sword had been destroyed and he had suffered a backlash, this flying sword should have been his lifebound magic weapon. However, this flying sword was too weak. It probably had not been nurtured for long. Wang Daoyuan had not thought of this before. However, in order to destroy this flying sword, the price was not small either. A wave of crossbow bolts directly nailed the city wall. 10 of the stone bricks were destroyed. 2 of the crossbow bolts shot at the damaged bricks. They directly penetrated the city wall, destroying a god-exterminating crossbow and seriously injuring 2 Qi disciple cultivators. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense was completely exhausted. He left the core of the formation. 2 myriad spirit sect cultivators immediately went to take over the formation to deal with the enemy's next attack. However, the enemy did not fire any more crossbow bolts. Instead, they began to retreat. This time, they finally succeeded in defending the fortress. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. The fog covered the sky, making it impossible to see the enemy's situation. No one dared to chase after them. They could only let the enemy escape. At this moment, a flying warship charged out of the fog. It swept past the west side of the fortress and pursued the enemy southward. Chapter 333. Wang Daoyuan sat down to recover his spiritual sense after leaving the core of the formation. He immediately transmitted a message to his 12th uncle Wang Shui. 12th uncle, put away the ballista bolts. Wang Shui immediately understood and used the water dragon art to sweep up all the bolts on the ground and the walls. He didn't let go of a single one, whether they were whole or broken. With Wang Daoyuan's refining skills, it was very easy to restore these crossbow bolts. If he could obtain the original ballista, the Wang clan would have another powerful magic tool. Although the other cultivators were also envious, they knew of his relationship with Wang Daoyuan and didn't dare to say anything. After all, the power to distribute the resources was in Wang Daoyuan's hands, so who would dare to raise an objection? If anyone dared to say anything, a portion of their resources would be deducted from them the next day. The flying warship was also very careful and didn't directly chase after the enemy. The flying warship hid within the myriad spirit sect's defensive formation and relied on offensive magic tools and long-range magic arts to attack the enemy. This way, even if the enemy had an ambush, they wouldn't dare to charge into the formation, nor would they pose a fatal threat to the flying warship. It was hard to say if the flying warship could kill the Violet Palace Realm cultivators and the group of Foundation Establishment cultivators, but the 12 armored chariots wouldn't be able to escape. It would be even better if he could seize the ballista and give it to him to repair. It would be easy to duplicate a high-grade second-grade magic tool. Half a cup of tea later, 2 more flying boats passed by the west side of the 3 eastern fortresses and headed south. In the south, the sounds of battle constantly rang out from the southern foot of Mount Wucheng. Wang Daoyuan couldn't care less. He ate a few spirit awakening pills and drank some spirit wine before sitting down to recover his spiritual power. A few people couldn't help but want to go out and help, but Wang Daoyuan refused. No one is allowed to take half a step out of the city. Tool refiners, repair the damaged bricks on the walls and replace the ones that can't be repaired. Our mission is to defend this fortress. As long as we don't lose the fortress, we'll be considered meritorious. If you lose the fort and let the Song nation invade, even if you kill 10 Purple Palace Realm experts, you will not be able to do anything. Anyone who wanted to leave was free to do so. In the future, don't come back. If you dare to come near the fortress, my flying sword will serve you. This time, no one brought up the matter of going out again. Several tool refiners began to repair the tool patterns on the Rock City brick. As for the broken bricks, they could no longer be repaired. There were spare bricks in the warehouse, so they just had to be replaced. Half an hour later, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual power and spiritual sense were fully restored. During this hour, another 5 flying warships flew to the south one after another. The battle in the south of the mountain was getting more and more intense. He walked out of the room where the core of the formation was located and patrolled the city walls to calm the people down. When he walked up the city wall, everyone was very respectful to him. In the battle to defend the city, he controlled the great formation, continuously blocking over 10 waves of crossbow bolts, displaying his valiant strength and withstanding the greatest pressure. In the end, he even used a formation to sever the enemy's Violet Palace Realm's natal artifact, directly establishing the victory. In a team, the prestige of a leader was accumulated in this way. Previously, everyone was afraid of him, afraid that he would embezzle their resources and feel unhappy. But now, it was more of respect. He first went to visit the 3 injured Qi refinement cultivators. Of the 3, 2 were Thousand Spirit Sect cultivators who controlled the demon exterminating crossbows and 1 was Yang clan cultivator. The 2000 Spirit Sect cultivators were heavily injured by the aftershock of the crossbow bolts. The Yang clan cultivator was cut by the blade of the arrow and his entire left arm was cut off. Wang Daoyuan asked the Yang clan cultivator with the severed arm, "Do you still have your severed arm?" The Yang clan cultivator nodded, "It's still here, I put it in my storage bag." Wang Daoyuan smiled, "It's good that it's still here, I'll see if I can reattach it." The Yang clan cultivator was overjoyed. He thought that he would only have 1 arm from now on, but he didn't expect that there would be a chance to reattach it. He immediately took out his severed arm from his storage bag. Wang Daoyuan aligned the severed arm with his shoulder and said, "Retract all the spirit energy in your body back to your dantian, don't use it no matter how painful it is later." After the Yang clan cultivator did so, Wang Daoyuan took out the spirit gathering pearl and extracted some spirit energy from it. He channeled the spirit energy into the Yang clan cultivator's severed arm and tried to open up his meridians. If the meridians were blocked, it wouldn't be of much use even if the arm was long. The spirit energy in the spirit-gathering pearl contained a large amount of life force. When it passed through the severed arm, it connected the meridians and healed part of the wound. The Yang clan cultivator was excited when he regained some feeling in his left arm. Wang Daoyuan used the gray dragon bead and extracted the life force from the spirit-gathering pearl to heal the severed arm. After a few dozen breaths, the wound was basically healed. The Yang clan cultivator moved his left arm a few times and there was no obstruction at all, as though it was never severed. Wang Daoyuan instructed, "Don't use spirit energy in your left arm for the time being, the meridians have just been connected and are still relatively weak. Once you use spirit energy, your meridians might break." The Yang clan cultivator nodded. Yang Ziyuan cupped his hands and said, "Daoyuan, you have such a miraculous healing technique?" Wang Daoyuan smiled. "This is a technique that the sect master bestowed me during the last duel between the two sections. It's just that I need to extract the life force of humans and demon beasts in advance for the healing effect to be stronger. I stored some life force in advance and if it's used up, the healing effect will be very poor. As for the 2000 spirit sect disciples, they suffered internal injuries and this healing technique won't be very effective. I can only use rejuvenation to treat them." With that, he used rejuvenation on the 2000 spirit sect disciples. Their injuries also improved significantly, but they couldn't use spirit energy for a short period of time. The two of them thanked him profusely and retreated to the north city wall to recuperate with the Yang clan cultivators. At this time, a flying warship flew over shakily. There were many injuries on the warship and there were several Foundation establishment cultivators flying on their swords beside the warship. The warship landed inside the city wall and more than 30 Qi refinement cultivators disembarked from the warship. The Foundation establishment cultivator in the lead was Su Tingxian, the deacon of the refining hall's East First refining workshop. When Su Tingxian saw Wang Daoyuan, he immediately cupped his hands and said, "Brother Wang, with you here, things will be easy. This flying ship has been damaged and needs to be repaired." With that, he said to the other Foundation establishment cultivators, "You guys go to the main city and bring some materials to refine the warship. This warship can't fly anymore and it's too tiring to bring it back. Let's repair it here." Wang Daoyuan asked, "What's going on at Shannon? Why is the battle so fierce?" Su Tingxian smiled. "I have to ask you about this. Your East 3 fortresses broke the life-bound magic weapon of an early Zifu realm cultivator and seriously injured him. We wanted to capture that Zifu realm cultivator alive, but the other side sent reinforcements. Thus, they started fighting at Shannon." Wang Daoyuan was somewhat puzzled. He asked, "It's just an early Zifu realm cultivator. Is there a need to spend so much effort?" Su Tingxian withdrew his smile and said solemnly, "Just an hour ago, the state of Song launched an all-out attack on all the fortresses. The West 4 fortresses were careless and were successfully ambushed by the Song cultivators in the fog. The entire fortress was razed to the ground and all the defending cultivators were killed. One of the Zifu realm cultivators was chopped into pieces by the enemy's wild swords. This cultivator was also a member of our Netherworld sect. We sent more than 20 Zifu realm cultivators and more than 30 warships to force the enemy to retreat. However, the enemy came prepared and calmly retreated to Shannon. The people on our side all had a bellyful of anger. When they learned that a Zifu realm cultivator was seriously injured, they wanted to capture him to vent their anger. The other side also sent many reinforcements. Right now, there are still more than 20 flying warships in Shannon engaged in a bloody battle with the enemy. My flying ship was badly damaged and has almost no combat power left. I could only retreat." Chapter 334. After half a cup of tea's time, a large transport flying ship flew over from the north and landed outside the North City. Several Foundation establishment cultivators directed the Qi refinement cultivators to move down the materials, charcoal, tools, and so on used for refining. Finally, Yin Chang led a dozen Foundation establishment cultivators down from the flying ship. These Foundation establishment cultivators were the refiners and formation masters who were under his command in the East First Refining Workshop. Wang Daoyuan and Su Tingxian immediately went forward to greet him. Yin Chang waved his hand and said, "Daoyuan, you don't have to be so polite. The battle in Shannon is fierce now, and the 3 eastern fortresses are the closest to the battlefield. Hallmaster Gu has decided to let the damaged warships be repaired here. I've brought you all the materials and tools needed to refine the warships. However, there's no earth fire here, and it can't be made in a short time. You'll have to make do with it first. If you have any other needs, just tell me. I'll try my best to fulfill them." Wang Daoyuan looked at the things brought by the flying ship and nodded. "Thank you, Senior. These things are enough. With the help of these Daoyu, it won't be a problem to continue refining the flying ship here, let alone repairing the damaged warships." Yin Chang smiled and said, "That's good. Contact me if you need anything." After the Qi refinement cultivators moved all the things from the flying ship, Yin Chang also left on the flying ship. With materials, tools, and helpers, repairing the flying warships was nothing. Wang Daoyuan led the refiners and formation masters to repair the damaged warships brought by Su Tingxian. After instructing everyone to remove a few seriously damaged side plates, he entered the interior of the warship to check the extent of damage to the warship's core. After inspecting the entire warship's core, he found that only one component was damaged. This damage was caused by a metal attribute attack spell. This attack penetrated the side plates and passed through the gap between the ribs. The remaining force hit the core component, leaving a few cracks. This core component was more important as it was related to the spiritual power circulation of the entire core. Therefore, it was very difficult for the entire warship to fly. He got out of the warship and asked Su Tingxian, "There's a crack in an important core component. It can be used again after a simple repair. However, if the components were not replaced, it would be easy to cause problems in the future." This component was also rather important. Once it was damaged, the entire warship would not even be able to fly. If we change the components and work together, it will take us 2 days to refine one. Su Tingxian waved his hand and said, "Don't change it. Right now, the South is fighting fiercely. How can we wait for 2 days? Repair it first. It's fine as long as it's still usable. I'll be careful not to rush to the front." Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "All right then. You guys refine a few pieces of side boards to replace the ones that were destroyed. I'll go in and fix the core components." After saying that, he took the tools and materials and went back into the cabin. He smelted some of the same metal materials as the components to patch up the cracks. After that, he used metal wires to reconnect the damaged formation patterns and vessel patterns before resealing them. It took him more than 2 hours to finish repairing the core. After installing the spirit stones, the flying warship's functions were completely normal, and it could continue to fight. As for the other side plates, it would take a little longer to complete. It would take a person a day to refine them. Generally speaking, it was best for one person to inscribe the vessel patterns on an artifact. Otherwise, it would be easy to cause problems. However, Wang Daoyuan was already very familiar with the vessel patterns on the side plates. He divided the vessel patterns into a few parts and let a few people inscribe a part of it. The few of them could inscribe the vessel patterns together and it could be used normally when they were combined. It saved a lot of time. It only took him 6 hours to refine a piece of side plate. There were many people here, so they refined a few pieces of side plates together. After 6 hours, they successfully repaired the entire flying warship. Su Tingxian led his men to board the warship and set off again. Wang Daoyuan and the rest did not stay idle either. The south was very lively, and there might be damaged warships. This time, they were not prepared and were in a hurry to repair the warship. In order to repair the damaged warship as soon as possible, they began to refine the side plates and deck of the warship. These two things were the most vulnerable to damage. After that, flying warships came one after another for repairs. However, these were not as badly damaged as Su Tingxian's warship. In addition, they were already prepared and only needed to replace one or two side plates. There were also some offensive artifacts that were damaged. This was not something that Wang Daoyuan and the rest could repair. It would take at least a few days to refine offensive artifacts that were suitable for the flying warship. This kind of work was naturally left to Yin Chang. The offensive artifacts sent by the main city were enough for them to install. The battle in the south of the mountain was getting more and more intense. The flying warships that were sent were not only from the underworld sect, but also from the Thousand Spirit sect. There were even a few from the Cruel Sun Palace. He did not dare to refuse the orders from his superiors to repair the warships. For this, he was sent more than 30 third-tier lower-grade weapon refiners and array masters, as well as more than 20 second-tier weapon refiners to help him. Although these second-tier weapon refiners could not inscribe third-tier vessel patterns, they could still help forge the materials and reforge the damaged side plates. Many of these people were from the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace. He had the authority of the refining hall of the Underworld sect, so the cultivators of the Underworld sect were under his control. But it was hard to say for the cultivators of the other two sects, especially the cultivators of the Cruel Sun Palace. They wanted to swallow him alive. Not only did they not obey him, but they also went against him. In order to let him smoothly command everyone, the higher-ups of the three sects jointly gave him the position of temporary logistics chief. Before the end of the battle in the south of the mountain, the logistics of the three forts in the east were all under his control. The entire three forts in the east became the temporary logistics headquarters. There were constantly large flying ships transporting all kinds of materials to the three forts in the east. The two sides fought a war of attrition at the south end of the canyon where the three forts in the east were located. After 2 days, there was still no sign of stopping. At this time, not only the damaged warships were sent, but also the wounded. He didn't know who it was that spread the news that he could reattach broken limbs, but a Foundation establishment cultivator with a broken arm and a broken leg was walking towards him. Su Tingxian was the first to send the wounded. Su Tingxian drove the warship back again. This time, the core was not damaged, but a few side plates were broken. However, he also brought a Foundation establishment cultivator with broken legs. Reattaching a broken leg was not a problem at all in normal times. It was hard to find medicinal pills to regenerate broken limbs, but it was not hard to find medicinal pills to reattach broken limbs. Jade Muscle Pill and Meridian Replenishing Pill could restore a broken limb to its original state. These two were third-level lower-grade medicinal pills. Although precious, they were not rare. The three sects had many such medicinal pills. But now it was wartime, and the consumption of medicinal pills was great. They were given priority to Zifu realm cultivators to ensure their fighting strength. It was impossible to use them on Foundation establishment cultivators. At this time, Wang Daoyuan's Azure Dragon Pearl became the Foundation establishment cultivator's life-saving straw. Su Tingxian, an old friend, came to plead for mercy, so he could not ignore him. He could only treat the cultivator. After the treatment, Wang Daoyuan said to Su Tingxian, "To treat this kind of injury, you need life force. My life force is also limited. It needs to be extracted from people or demonic beasts. It's not easy to find demonic beasts here, but it's not difficult to catch people. Ask Dao Yu on the battlefield to help catch a few captives and bring them over when the warship is repaired." You started this, and there will be more and more people coming to me for treatment. The life force I have left is only enough to save 7 people. You started this, so you can't leave it alone. Chapter 335. Wang Daoyuan had just given Su Tingxian face, so he naturally wouldn't ignore it. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, little brother. This is related to the lives of all the fellow Taoists on the battlefield. Everyone will definitely do their best to help fellow Taoist capture the captives." Less than 15 minutes after Su Tingxian left, a flying warship returned for repairs. There were 2 captives hanging from the side of the ship. One of the captives was at the early stage of foundation establishment, while the other was at the peak of qi condensation. They were tied up tightly with ropes. After the warship landed, the cultivators on the ship disembarked and handed the 2 captives to Wang Daoyuan. They also carried an injured foundation establishment cultivator behind them. The leading foundation establishment cultivator cupped his hands towards Wang Daoyuan and said, "Chief Steward Wang, I've brought the captives you wanted. Please help treat my brother." Although Wang Daoyuan felt that there was something wrong with this form of address, he still replied with a smile, "No problem. As long as there are captives, it'll be easy." He used the Azure Dragon Pearl to extract life force from the 2 captives. The effect of extracting life force from human cultivators was much weaker. The life force extracted from the 2 captives was only enough for 1 treatment. At most, there would be some left. It wouldn't be enough for 2 treatments. After all, in terms of size and physical strength, humans were much weaker than cultivators of the same level. Moreover, he had previously extracted life force from ferocious blood boars. Ferocious blood boars were famous for their powerful blood qi. Blood qi, physical strength, and so on were all related to vitality. It didn't matter if human cultivators had less life force. At least they wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After treating the injuries of the Foundation establishment cultivator, the others repaired the warship and set off for the battlefield once more. The battle was still ongoing. In addition to directing the repair of the flying warship, Wang Daoyuan also had to treat dozens of injured Foundation establishment cultivators. As the battle intensified, Wang Daoyuan also gained some understanding of the situation of this battle. At first, the Zhao side wanted to keep the injured Zifu disciple alive to vent their anger. The Song side naturally wouldn't let the Zhao side succeed. Instead, they wanted to use the Zifu disciple as bait to lure the Zhao cultivators out of the formation and fight outside. After all, the Zhao side had been guarding the formation all this time. The Song side had suffered great losses in attacking the fortress. Now that there was an opportunity to fight outside the array formation, they naturally had to seize it. At first, the Zhao kingdom did not think much of it. However, as more and more reinforcements arrived from the Song kingdom, they wanted to take the opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the Song kingdom. The 3 sects of the state of Zhao had gathered at Wucheng Pass. The strength of those below the Golden Core realm had already surpassed that of the state of Song. The Myriad Spirit sect had been suppressed by the Song kingdom for more than 10 years, and the Netherworld sect had a Purple Mansion elder killed in a sneak attack. Both sects wanted to do something big. The Cruel Sun Palace also wanted to end the battle quickly. After all, the Wei nation was causing trouble at the western border of their territory. If the sect's forces were placed outside for a long time, their rear might be unstable. The 3 sects all wanted to finish the job in one fell swoop, so naturally, the commotion became bigger and bigger. There were more than 100 flying warships gathered in the south of the mountain. Among them, there were more than 80 from the Zhao kingdom and more than 40 from the Song kingdom. The state of Zhao had fallen from being a first-rate country to a third-rate country. However, they did not lose much territory, and their resources were still very rich. The Song state's territory was less than a third of the Zhao state's. It was impossible to compete with flying warships. However, the Song Empire had sent in far more Zifu disciples. The reason why the Zhao kingdom did not send in all their forces was because they wanted to use the flying warships to exhaust the Song Empire's mid-tier forces. The flying warships could be repaired. Even if they were completely reforged, it would only take a few months to refine a complete warship. However, to nurture a Zifu disciple, it would take an average of 170 to 180 years. There was no need to mention the consumption of various resources. The Zhao kingdom's strategy was to use resources to suppress the Song Empire, using resources to exchange for the lives of the Song Empire's Zifu disciples. They wanted to defeat Song Yan's arrogance in one battle and make him obedient for a few hundred years. Furthermore, the Zhao kingdom was backed by the mountain protecting formation. If their cultivators were heavily injured or their flying warships were damaged, they could easily retreat to the mountain protecting formation and recuperate. After they were healed and repaired, they could return to the battlefield. The Song Empire was in a difficult position. They wanted to retreat, but they did not dare to. The two sides were entangled. If the Song Empire's upper echelons dared to give the order to retreat, the Zhao kingdom would chase after them. The Song Empire's army would definitely be wiped out. This small battle had already become the decisive battle that would decide the outcome of the entire war. The war that had lasted for more than 10 years would end in this battle. The Song Empire would take down Wuxia Pass and even invade the Zhao kingdom's heartland. If the Zhao kingdom won, the Song Empire would not be able to attack the Zhao kingdom for the next few hundred years. Given the current situation, the Song Empire's chances of victory were slim. After all, the Zhao kingdom had the advantage in terms of the number of cultivators of various realms. They also had sufficient flying warships to wear down the enemy. If the Song Empire did not have any special moves, their defeat was certain. After another 5 days, both sides were still increasing the stakes. The Zhao kingdom wanted to end the battle and sent all their Zifu disciples to the battlefield. In the past few days, Wang Daoyuan had treated more than 300 Foundation establishment cultivators and repaired the flying warships more than 100 times. The Song Empire's injured cultivators and damaged warships could not retreat. This was equivalent to the Zhao kingdom having more than 100 Zifu disciples. The battle in the south of the mountain was getting louder and louder. Suddenly, the entire castle started to shake. Wang Daoyuan immediately flew into the sky on his sword to observe the situation in the distance. The 3 eastern fortresses were only a few li away from the edge of the battlefield. However, due to the mountain's obstruction, the battle did not spread here. With the eyesight of a Foundation establishment cultivator, they could clearly see the situation in the air more than 10 li away. At this moment, the situation in the main battlefield was like making dumplings. The filling of the dumplings was the group of people who came to attack the 3 eastern fortresses, as well as the Song Empire's Zifu disciples who came to reinforce them. The Song Empire's cultivators wanted to counter-encircle them, but they did not succeed. The Zhao kingdom relied on the mountain range and formations to protect their retreat, which was where the 3 eastern fortresses were located. The Song Empire's main camp was more than 100 li away from the main city of Wuxia Pass, a few hundred li away from the battlefield. The cultivators who came to reinforce the battlefield were intercepted by the Zhao kingdom's cultivators halfway. The entire battlefield was divided into more than 10 sections, and each section was fighting its own battle. This situation had been going on for several days. The Zhao kingdom had already decided to end the battle as soon as possible. They sent another 50 to 60 Zifu disciples to the battlefield. At this moment, the Zhao kingdom was working hard to eat the filling of the dumplings. The Zifu disciples who had been surrounded by them were now more or less dead. After eating the filling of the dumplings, they could sweep the entire battlefield. The Song Empire was at a complete disadvantage. A large number of their cultivators were held back. When the Zhao kingdom's cultivators made their move, only a few Song Empire's cultivators could escape. The Song Empire's upper echelons were not to be trifled with. 3 golden core cultivators flew out from the main camp and attacked the Zhao Kingdom's cultivators. When golden core cultivators attacked Zifu disciples and Foundation establishment cultivators, a single spell was enough to wipe them out. The Zhao Kingdom's golden core cultivators were already prepared. 7 golden core cultivators flew out from the main city of Wuxia Pass and surrounded the 3. If the 3 insisted on attacking, they would very likely be surrounded. Although golden core cultivators were not easy to kill, 7 against 3 was not a big problem. None of them wanted to be left behind. They could only give up on attacking and retreat towards the main camp. At this moment, another 4 golden core cultivators flew out from the main camp of the Song Empire. A total of 14 golden core cultivators faced each other in the air. A yellow-robed cultivator from the Song Empire wanted to continue attacking the cultivators below, but a myriad spirit sect's golden core cultivator stopped him. The 2 of them fought, and the aftermath of the battle injured many Zifu disciples and Foundation establishment cultivators below. Another golden core cultivator in aqua-blue robes shot out a Gui Water Divine Thunder. This person should be from the Zhao Kingdom's royal family. The Gui Water Divine Thunder used by a golden core cultivator was not to be underestimated. A cultivator from the Crescent Sun Palace took out his magic weapon and blocked the Gui Water Divine Thunder. This person's body flickered with an earthy yellow light. His body was extremely strong. One could tell at a glance that he was an earth element body tempering cultivator. After 2 consecutive exchanges, a golden core cultivator battle was about to erupt. Another gold core cultivator with white hair and beard flew out from the camp of Song Kingdom. He said to the other gold core cultivators, "The gold core cultivators from both sides are evenly matched. Even the old ghost of the Nether Sea can only fight to a draw with me." This time, the Song Empire was rude first and is at a disadvantage. We are willing to give up our territory and ask for peace. If the Dao Yu agree, both sides will stop fighting. If not, none of the juniors on the battlefield will survive. The 15 golden core cultivators of the Song Empire will also fight to the death with all of you. Although there are few golden core cultivators in the Song Empire, it is not a problem to take out 10 golden core cultivators from the Zhao Kingdom. At that time, the Qi, Chu, and Wu kingdoms will definitely take the opportunity to swallow the Song Empire and attack the Zhao Kingdom. The Wei Kingdom will also attack the Hanjiang Pass with all their might. If the Song Empire is destroyed, the Zhao Kingdom will follow in its footsteps. Chapter 336. The yellow-robed golden core cultivator from the state of Song stopped and argued, "Grandfather, we haven't lost yet. We can continue fighting. They don't dare to risk their lives. As long as we continue fighting, we will definitely win." The white-bearded golden core cultivator said angrily, "Song Yan, you like to take risks. You have succeeded many times to reach your current situation. However, if you know how to start a business, you also need to know how to preserve your achievements. You can't just take out some assets to fight. If they continued to fight, even if they won, it would be difficult to swallow the state of Zhao. If they lost, the state of Zhao would be destroyed. Right now, the Song nation's situation is the best it has been in the past few thousand years. There is no need to ruin the nation's fate for a moment of pride." Song Yan wanted to continue, but the white-bearded golden core cultivator rebuked, "I'm not dead yet. It's not your turn to cover the sky with one hand." The quarrel between golden core cultivators was extremely loud. Furthermore, they were fighting high up in the sky, so everyone within a radius of several hundred miles could hear them clearly. Wang Daoyuan felt that Song Yan's words made sense. If they continued fighting, only the myriad spirit sect would resist with all their might. If Song Guozhen really went all out, the golden core cultivators of the Netherworld sect and the cruel Sun Palace would not fight to the death. Instead, they would defend their own territories. However, what he did not expect was that the Song nation was not as united as before. The other golden core cultivators were willing to eat meat with him, but they were not willing to die with him. Secondly, he didn't understand the principle of the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Even if all the golden core cultivators in the Song kingdom listened to him, the loss of the myriad spirit sect would not be small. The Violet Palace realm and Foundation establishment cultivators would be wiped out. Once the Song kingdom suffered too many losses, it would become a fish on the chopping board. How could the powers of Qi, Chu, and Wu kingdoms not be tempted? By then, the Song kingdom would have enemies on all sides. It would only be a matter of time before the kingdom was destroyed. Song Yen was a very capable gambler. In just 200 years, he was able to reunite the Song kingdom, which had been divided for thousands of years. He was an excellent pioneer, but he liked to gamble too much and didn't care about his capital. He wasn't a good defender. The war had lasted till now, and it was just right for the Zhao country. The Song nation suffered heavy losses. However, it still managed to preserve much of its strength. While it lacked offense, it had plenty of defense. The forces of Qi, Chu, and Wu did not dare to act rashly, and the Song kingdom did not dare to stir up trouble everywhere. On the state of Zhao's side, everyone looked at a green-robed golden core cultivator. This person was the first supreme elder of the Thousand Spirits sect. His name was Yulongzhenren. His spiritual beast was a fourth-rank upper-grade flood dragon. Yulongzhenren also knew the thoughts of Netherworld sect and Cruel Sun Palace. If they continued to fight, these two sects would not be happy. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said, "We agree to a ceasefire. However, we do not want the Song nation's land. We want the Song nation to compensate us with spirit stones and other resources." This was a wise choice. There was no place south of Wucheng Pass to defend. If they occupied the territory of the Song kingdom, they would attract too much hatred. They needed to station a large number of troops to guard against the forces of the Song kingdom. The resources produced might not be much, but the cost of occupying them was very high. The Underworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace had taken over the land, but the two sects couldn't take it. They still needed the Thousand Spirits sect to reward the two sects with resources. In this way, even if the Thousand Spirits sect won, their strength would drop for a short period of time. The seized land needed to be developed before it could be produced. To develop land, resources and manpower were needed. The Thousand Spirits sect had been defending the Song kingdom alone for more than 10 years. They had consumed a lot of resources and suffered a lot of casualties. They did not have enough resources to develop new territories. On the contrary, they urgently needed a large number of resources to nurture talents to maintain the operation of the sect. No matter how one looked at it, resources were better than land. The white-bearded cultivator from the Song nation nodded and said, "Let's have the Violet Palace and Foundation establishment cultivators retreat first. We golden core cultivators can talk slowly." Venerable Yulong waved his hand and the cultivators of the Zhao nation began to retreat to the north. He was not afraid of the Song nation playing any tricks. In this battle, the Song nation had lost 70 to 80 Violet Palace realm cultivators and 400 to 500 Foundation establishment cultivators. Even if they wanted to go back on their word, they did not have the strength to do so. Both sides had stopped fighting and there was nothing to see. Wang Daoyuan also landed on the ground. After half a day, the cultivators from the sects who came to help all left the 3 eastern fortresses. Palace Master Gu also sent a message, ordering him to hand over the 3 eastern fortresses to the Thousand Spirit sect cultivators. Then, he led the people out of the fortresses and gathered at the north of the main city. Wang Daoyuan handed over the fortresses to the Thousand Spirit sect cultivators and led the cultivators from the north of Qingli County to the north of the main city. At this time, there were already many people gathered there. The underworld sect's dozen large flying ships were also waiting. However, the cultivators of the underworld sect were not the only ones gathered. There were also many cultivators of the cruel Sun Palace. It seemed that the two sects were not at ease with the Thousand Spirit sect and wanted to leave as soon as possible. If the Thousand Spirit sect was really ruthless and killed all the cultivators of the two sects who participated in the battle, the two sects would suffer great losses and there would be a gap in talent. The underworld sect and the cruel Sun Palace had always been at odds and it would be difficult for them to unite. In the future, the Thousand Spirit sect would really dominate the Zhao nation. This was very risky. If things went wrong, the two sects and the Song nation might attack them together. However, the benefits were also great. If they succeeded, the unification of the Zhao nation would be just around the corner. However, the Golden Core cultivators of the Thousand Spirit sect did not dare to make such a risky decision. At this time, the two sides had only stopped fighting for half a day. The Thousand Spirit sect could not make such a big decision in such a short time. Before the Thousand Spirit sect made up their mind, they would withdraw the cultivators and leave a dying Golden Core cultivator to negotiate. In this way, they would not be afraid of the Thousand Spirit sect falling out with them. Killing a dying Golden Core cultivator might cause them to lose their own Golden Core cultivators. It was not worth it. Soon, the men of the underworld sect were gathered. Everyone boarded the ship and left Wuxia Pass, flying toward the Wanchuan market. When they arrived at the Wanchuan market, the flying ship separated. Wang Daoyuan and the others boarded a flying ship and went straight to the Qingli market. After the Wanchuan market, they arrived at the territory of the underworld sect. They were completely safe. Everyone was also delighted. They had participated in a state war and no one had died. Only a cultivator of the Yang family had lost an arm, which was reattached by Wang Daoyuan. They defended the three forts in the east and repelled the cultivators of the Song nation. They would definitely be rewarded. Wang Daoyuan felt it was a pity that he could not get the ballista. If he could refine the ballista and crossbow arrows, it would be very useful to strengthen the defense of Fallen Dragon Ridge. After returning to the Qingli market, everyone dispersed. Wang Daoyuan also took out the Jade Spring flying ship and returned to the Jade Spring Peak with his clansmen. He did not want to do anything else and directly went into seclusion to cultivate. Previously, he was dragged to the underworld sect by Luo Jiuyo to refine the flying warship. He did not cultivate for more than 5 years, so his cultivation did not improve much. In a few years, his clone, Wu Yi, would be able to gather 350,000 contribution points in the Shanbei branch. He had 400,000 to 500,000 spirit stones on him. After selling some magic tools, medicinal pills, talismans, and the like, and taking 100,000 spirit stones from the clan, he would have enough. However, his cultivation was still stuck at the 8th level of foundation establishment. If he did not raise his cultivation to peak foundation establishment as soon as possible, he would not be able to use the Yin-Yang purple jade. After a month of seclusion in the cave abode on the Jade Spring Peak, he was called out by the 12th uncle. It turned out that the underworld sect had sent a Violet Palace realm elder to invite him to the underworld sect to reward him. Wang Daoyuan did not understand. In the past, the underworld sect would send someone to deliver the rewards. Why was it so troublesome this time? However, since the underworld sect had sent a Violet Palace realm cultivator to invite him, he could not refuse. In any case, he was going to the underworld sect to receive the rewards, not to go to the guillotine. There was no harm in going. After walking out of the cave abode, he followed the 12th uncle Wang Shui into the hall. The 5th uncle was chatting with the Violet Palace realm cultivator of the underworld sect. After Wang Daoyuan entered, the Violet Palace realm cultivator hurriedly stood up and cupped his hands. "Greetings, Steward Wang." Wang Daoyuan did not dare to be arrogant and returned the greeting. "Greetings, Elder." The Violet Palace Realm Cultivator smiled. Congratulations, Steward Wang. You have made a great contribution in Wucheng Pass. The Myriad Spirit Sect and the Song Nation have reached an agreement. The Nether Sea Patriarch has returned with a large amount of resources. The Sect Master has decided to reward you greatly. During this battle, you refined the flying warship and healed the injured cultivators. You have made a great contribution. Thus, the Sect Master sent me to invite you to the sect to personally reward you. Chapter 337. After Fifth Great Uncle and this Purple Mansion Elder exchanged some pleasantries, Wang Daoyuan followed him to the Netherworld sect. The two of them rode on the extremely fast third-grade flying boat. It only took half a day to reach the Darkwater Valley from Jade Spring Peak. Along the way, this Purple Mansion Elder did his best to worm his way into being friends with him. From their conversation, he learned that this person was an old clan cultivator from the southern part of Qingli County, named Jiang Jingming. The Jiang clan he belonged to was a 1,000-year-old clan, but it had always been lukewarm and didn't produce any powerful figures. It also didn't suffer much damage during the war between the three sections. It wasn't until he became a Purple Mansion cultivator that the Jiang clan became powerful. However, Jiang Jingming's talent was only above average, and he had basically reached the end of his cultivation at the middle stage of the Purple Mansion realm. He also didn't have any special skills, and would only be an elder with no duties in this lifetime. After he passed away, the Jiang clan would still decline. Wang Daoyuan was highly regarded by the sect head, and the sect head personally said that he would definitely establish his Purple Mansion in 20 or 30 years. Now, he was only at the foundation establishment stage, but he had the authority to manage the clan. After establishing his Purple Mansion, he would directly become an elder with real power. In the future, it wouldn't be impossible for him to become a hall master. If he could worm his way into being friends with the Jiang clan in the future, when the Wang clan became powerful, it would be easier for him to take care of the Jiang clan. Wang Daoyuan was naturally well aware of Jiang Jingming's thoughts. However, it was better for someone to worm their way into being friends with him than to be enemies with him. The two of them chatted along the way, and soon arrived at the Darkwater Valley where the Netherworld sect was located. Jiang Jingming came out on a mission from the sect head, so he didn't need to be checked when entering or leaving the sect. After the two of them entered the sect, Wang Daoyuan wanted to follow the rules and directly walk up the stone steps to the highest meeting hall. Jiang Jingming waved his hand and said, "Steward Wang, you don't need to walk up. The sect head has already instructed that you can directly fly up on your sword after coming here." Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, this treatment is probably equivalent to the ancient times of the world in my previous life. This is standard for powerful officials, and not a good thing. To be cautious, it's better to obediently follow the rules. He did not fly up on his sword. Instead, he walked up step by step along the stone steps. The Netherworld sect didn't have any rules about the behavior of its disciples, so Wang Daoyuan ran a little faster. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, he had already run over 10 miles of stairs. After entering the conference hall, Luo Jiuyo sat at the head of the table, while the other Violet Mansion elders sat on the east and west sides. Luo Jiuyo smiled and asked, "Daoyuan, I allowed you to fly up on your sword. Why did you run up here?" Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "Even Zifu disciples are unable to directly fly over the stone steps in front of the gate. I am merely a foundation establishment cultivator. How would I dare violate the rules of the sect?" Luo Jiuyo nodded with satisfaction and said, "You've made great contributions to the sect many times, yet you can still be so humble. You've made a lot of contributions to the sect in refining flying warships. But due to the circumstances, you were only given the position and authority of the refining hall's steward. You were the first to discover the enemy's sneak attack in the 3 forts east of Wucheng and reported it to Palace Master Gu. It was also you, with the cooperation of Elder Liang, who used a formation to break the lifeblood magic artifact of that Zifu disciple from the kingdom of Song. You caused him to be heavily injured, giving us a chance to fight. During the battle, as the head of logistics, you commanded everyone to repair a total of 130 flying warships, 70 of which belonged to our Netherworld sect. You personally saved 479 Foundation establishment cultivators, 290 of which belonged to our Netherworld sect. If it weren't for you, the number of sect disciples who died in this final battle would have been many times greater. Although you didn't personally participate in the battle, your contributions added together are greater than the vast majority of Zifu disciples who participated in the battle. What reward do you want? Just tell me. As long as it's something I can give, I'll give it to you. What Wang Daoyuan needed the most right now was naturally the yin-yang purple jade. But Luo Jiuyo wouldn't be willing to give it to him. There was a high chance that he wouldn't be able to get it. Even if he gave him face, he would inevitably hate him in the future. If a golden core cultivator hated him, his life would be in danger, and he might even implicate his clan. If he asked for the yin-yang purple jade, the risk of being hated was 100%. The probability of getting it was not high. He had already made progress in getting the yin-yang purple jade from Blood Shadow, so there was no need to take this risk. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "The refining of the flying warships and the subsequent repair of the flying warships were all thanks to the concerted efforts of many Daoyu. It wasn't the work of me alone. As for treating the injured Daoyu, I used the Dharma spell that you bestowed upon me, Sect Master. In terms of contributions, Sect Master's contributions are greater. I did all these things because of my own responsibility. I dare not claim credit for it." No matter how hard one tried, flattery would never work. After hearing Wang Daoyuan's words, even though Luo Jiuyo had lived for hundreds of years and was also an old fox, he was still very happy. When those in power nurtured talents, what they cared about the most was nothing more than loyalty, talent, and gratitude. Wang Daoyuan had all of these. At least he seemed to be a loyal person, so Luo Jiuyo was naturally very satisfied. Luo Jiuyo's face was full of smiles. "You're young, but you're able to not be arrogant. Very good. However, if I don't reward you, people will say that I don't know how to reward and punish you. Since you're not asking, I'll reward you with something good. You're now at the 8th level of Foundation establishment and not far from establishing your Violet Palace. Once you reach the Violet Palace realm, you'll have to refine your natal magic weapon. I happen to have a set of refining methods for the 5 elements natal magic weapons. It's of the same origin as the 5 elements devil suppression seal that I gave you before, so they can complement each other. I originally wanted to give it to you after you established your Violet Palace. Since you've made a great contribution, I'll give it to you in advance so that you can collect the materials in advance. I also have some materials for refining one of the magic weapons, so I'll give it to you as well. In addition, you defended the 3 eastern fortresses of Wucheng Pass, saved many cultivators of the Myriad Spirit sect, and repaired their flying ships. They also rewarded you." With that, Luo Jiuyo waved his hand, and 2 storage bags flew to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan caught the storage bags and bowed. "Thank you for your reward, Sect Master." Hearing Luo Jiuyo mention establishing his Violet Palace, Wang Daoyuan was really a little excited. He thought that Luo Jiuyo had suddenly become generous and rewarded him with a piece of yin-yang purple jade, but he didn't expect it to be the refining method for the natal magic weapon. The method of refining a natal Dharma artifact included the selection of materials, refining, and nurturing of the natal Dharma artifact. The Wang clan was once a golden core clan, so they naturally had the refining method for the natal magic weapon. However, the refining method left behind by the ancestor was to refine a long sword of the water attribute. This refining method was very suitable for the 12th uncle and 5th uncle, but it wasn't very useful for Wang Daoyuan. Luo Jiuyo rewarding him with the refining method for the 5 elements magic weapon was quite useful. In particular, he also rewarded him with the materials for refining the magic weapon. These things were quite good. The materials for refining the natal magic weapon were particularly difficult to find. Even if it was the most common natal magic artifact, the materials required would be at least of the third level of the lower grade. Now that he could get some, he could save a lot of effort. After the rewards were given, Wang Daoyuan consciously retreated to the last seat of the elders, waiting for the sect master to reward the others according to their merits. Those who were rewarded were mostly cultivators who participated in the final battle and made a lot of contributions. Among them was Su Tingxian. He had Wang Daoyuan to help him repair the flying warship, so he fought bravely in every battle. When the warship was damaged, it ran back to the 3 eastern fortresses to be repaired. After it was repaired, it was still the same. Relying on his desperation, Su Tingxian commanded the flying warship to kill 3 Violet Palace realm cultivators and more than 20 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators from the Song Kingdom. He also destroyed 2 of the Song Kingdom's flying warships. The rewards given by Luo Jiuyo weren't very precious, just some spirit stones and a refining inheritance. However, Su Tingxian was recommended by the refining hall to obtain the Yin-Yang purple jade. In addition, he had made a great contribution, so the probability of obtaining the Yin-Yang purple jade was very high. Chapter 338. After everyone received their rewards, the crowd dispersed. Wang Daoyuan also bid farewell and left. He did not want to reveal what Luo Jiuyo gave him. He would wait until he returned to Jade Spring Peak. The one who sent him back was still Jiang Jingming. After returning to Jade Spring Peak, he greeted the 12th uncle and returned to his cave abode to check on the quality of the intrinsic dermic artifact that Luo Jiuyo gave him. He opened the storage bag and saw a beast skin book and a piece of metal that was about a foot in diameter and was almost spherical. The value of this metal material was not low. It was middle grade grade 3 heaven ferocious metal. The heaven ferocious metal was formed when a metal or vein came into contact with an earth ferocious spirit vein. It was perfect for making offensive dermic weapons. Wang Daoyuan had always planned to use the heaven ferocious metal to condense a metal-type spirit power seed if he could not find a metal-type spirit fire. Just from the fact that it was made with the heaven ferocious metal, this intrinsic dermic artifact was not weak. Such a large piece of middle-grade grade 3 heaven ferocious metal was worth at least 200,000 spirit stones. Luo Jiuyo could be considered to have spent some money. As for the beast skin book, the words, 5 Elements Demon Suppression Seal Sacrificial Refinement Technique, were written on the cover. As expected, this thing was used together with the 5 Elements Demon Suppression Seal dermic art that he had obtained previously. Wang Daoyuan cursed internally. This Luo Jiuyo is such a bastard. He exchanged the golden rock fighting dragon technique with me and even split the inheritance into 2. I'm curious. How can a dermic art created by a golden core be so weak? The main offensive dermic art, White Tiger Blade, is inferior to the grade 3 dermic art, Meteor Fall. And the name is so weird. It doesn't seem like the name of a dermic art, but a dermic weapon. After all this fuss, these dermic arts are the supplementary dermic arts of the intrinsic dermic artifact. And this Azure Dragon Pearl. After absorbing vitality, it can only be used by the body. There is no way to store it. How can a golden core be so stupid as to allow precious vitality to flow away? He forced me to use the Spirit Gathering Pearl to store vitality and the amount stored is not much. So the inheritance is incomplete and there is no dermic weapon. After cursing internally, he felt much better. Looking at the content carefully, he decided to curse again. Originally, he thought that he had given him a complete spell, but it turned out that even the spell was incomplete. In addition to the refining of magic tools, there were more details on how to cast spells. For example, the Azure Dragon Pearl could be used in conjunction with the intrinsic Dharma artifact. An Azure Dragon Phantom would fly out and extract the target's life force. It could also release life force to heal. This was a magic tool with a strong attacking effect, and it was an area of effect attack. Of course, the attack range was not far. When a natal magic artifact reached the 3rd tier, lower grade, it could only attack enemies within a range of 30 meters. As the grade of the intrinsic dermic artifact increased, its range of attack would also increase. However, the range of the attack was too small. It wasn't very useful against enemies who like to kill with flying swords or use long-range spells. It was especially effective against body-refining cultivators and demonic beasts that like to get close to each other, as well as against spirit insects that attacked at close range. The White Tiger Blade came with a set of sword techniques. It could barely be considered a sword cultivation inheritance. However, the White Tiger sword technique was not like the inheritance of the Beiyuan sword sect, which came with many sword cultivation techniques. The White Tiger sword technique only had a unique sword manipulation technique and a method to comprehend the White Tiger sword intent. Sword intent was the essence of sword cultivation. Only by comprehending sword intent and using sword intent to nurture the intrinsic flying sword Dharma artifact could one reach the pinnacle of sword cultivation, one with the sword. The Beiyuan sword technique that Wang Daoyuan learned only had the sword manipulation technique. It didn't have the method to comprehend sword intent, so the inheritance was incomplete. The White Tiger sword technique was not bad. After refining the White Tiger Blade and cultivating sword intent, he could barely be considered a sword cultivator. Although he didn't have the willpower of a sword cultivator, as long as the Dharma artifact was good enough and the spells were good enough, how could the lethality be bad? Next, he looked at the materials needed to refine the 5 combined Dharma artifacts and wanted to curse. The refining materials were really rare, and some of them couldn't even be bought with money. The Azure Dragon Pearl required the least refining materials. There was only one type. However, this one type of material made him despair. The refining material of the Azure Dragon Pearl was a fake dragon pearl. It would be better if he could get a real dragon pearl. The dragon pearl was the inner core of a dragon. Because dragons were divine beasts, they were special. Therefore, their inner cores were different from other beasts. The strength of the dragon pearl was extremely high. It was far superior to defensive Dharma artifacts of the same level. The dragon clan could directly use the dragon pearl to attack the enemy, unlike other beasts, who spat out their inner cores. The fake dragon pearl was the inner core of a dragon bloodline beast. The inner core could be called a fake dragon pearl. Needless to say, its strength was far superior to that of ordinary beasts. It could also be spat out as a Dharma artifact to fight with the enemy. A dragon bloodline beast that could condense a fake dragon pearl was definitely not low in concentration of dragon bloodline. Moreover, a dragon bloodline beast that could condense a fake dragon pearl was at least a 3rd tier inferior grade 1. The higher the concentration of dragon bloodline, the earlier the fake dragon pearl was condensed, and the stronger the fake dragon pearl. However, correspondingly, the dragon bloodline beast's strength was stronger. Dragon bloodline beasts were very rare now, but there were still some. For example, the flood dragon of the Thousand Spirit Sect's Immortal Dragon. The flood dragon had a higher concentration of dragon bloodline among the dragon bloodline beasts. To be called a dragon, it definitely had a fake dragon pearl. However, the flood dragon was a 4th tier inferior grade. 100 of him would not be enough to blow it away. The materials for the White Tiger Blade were also extremely difficult to find. It required Sky Demon Gold and Tai Gold. Luo Jiuyo gave him a piece of Sky Demon Gold, which was enough. Tai Gold was harder to find. Tai Gold was generally a 4th tier metal attribute material. It was the strongest among the fourth-tier materials. It was born in a place with rich gung jin qi and contained a strong murderous aura. It was used to refine flying swords. Its lethality was amazing. With Tai gold and Sky Demon gold as the main materials, the White Tiger blade was worthy of its name. The Tai gold that absorbed less gung jin qi might be a third-tier material, but it was also extremely rare. The materials for the Suzaku fan were much better. It required 5 third-tier middle-grade or superior-grade inferior attribute beasts' life feathers and a third-tier middle-grade inferior attribute spiritual wood. To refine the Suzaku fan, he needed to kill 5 different third-tier middle-grade inferior attribute beasts. Just thinking about it made him feel like a joke. The Black Tortoise shield required a third-tier middle-grade spiritual spring pearl or a water attribute spirit vein essence. This should be the easiest to find. There was a third-tier water attribute spirit vein under his feet. However, the Jade Dragon Spring was the foundation of the Wang clan. It could not be destroyed. In terms of the value of materials, the other 4 artifacts were nothing. Of the 5 artifacts, the core of the Kirin seal had the most valuable materials. The main materials were the Earth Essence and the Heaven-suppressing stone. The Earth Essence was a treasure that could only be nurtured by a 4th-tier Earth attribute spirit vein for tens of thousands of years. The Heaven-suppressing stone was a 4th-tier Earth attribute material. Its biggest feature was its weight and sturdiness. A finger-sized Heaven-suppressing stone weighed a few hundred kilograms. More importantly, it was sold in taels. Any artifact refined from it would have strong suppressive abilities. Wang Daoyuan did have the Heaven-suppressing stone. The 5 elements Heaven-suppressing seal left behind by the 5 elements Venerable used a lot of it. The 5 elements Heaven-suppressing seal was the core of the 5 elements secret realm. It could not be touched at all. With Wang Daoyuan's current cultivation, he could not even activate it, let alone destroy it. To refine all 5 artifacts, he would need to spend tens of millions of spirit stones or even more. Moreover, many of the materials were things that had not been seen for many years. It was too difficult to find them. It was almost impossible to refine all 5 artifacts before reaching the golden core stage. Seeing the difficulty of refining these artifacts, Wang Daoyuan wanted to give up. However, when he thought of its powerful power and the fact that it could combine 5 artifacts into one to form the 5 elements devil subduing seal, its power was needless to say. The reward that Luo Jiuyo gave him was too deceptive. It was of no use to his current strength, but it made him very envious. Chapter 339. Wang Daoyuan stored the heaven hellish gold and the sacrificial refining technique in the spirit pearl. Then, he took out the storage bag he received from the Thousand Spirit sect. After opening the storage bag, he was quite satisfied. There were 30,000 spirit stones and a few third-grade talismans inside. The Thousand Spirit sect was much more generous, unlike Luo Jiuyo, who gave him a reward and made him feel disgusted. Although 30,000 spirit stones were not much, he needed them now to exchange for the yin-yang purple jade. 30,000 spirit stones would be of great use. After the rewards were given, the aftermath of the Battle of Wucheng Pass had nothing to do with Wang Daoyuan. There was nothing for him to manage in the family, so he went directly to the cave abode on Jade Pine Mountain to cultivate in seclusion. He could also protect the safety of Jade Pine Mountain and restrain the Thunder Ape to prevent it from causing trouble. In the Spirit Pearl, the spiritual herbs for refining the Meridian Shield pill had not matured yet, so he could not try refining a third-grade pill now. He was not in a hurry to make talismans. He cut down the white jade spiritual mulberry and planted the blood dragon wood. The bark of the blood dragon wood could be used to make third-grade talismans, but it needed to be a third-grade spiritual wood. At present, only the blood dragon wood that he had obtained at the beginning had reached the 3rd stage. The other saplings were only at the 2nd stage of the lower grade. With only 1/3-grade blood dragon wood, the talisman paper he made would not be enough for him to practice making talismans. There was a more stable supply of spiritual ink. After Wang Xian cleared the 100 spirit mountain monsters, the Shen family of Danshan Mountain kept their promise and sold more than 50 kilograms of 3rd-grade cinnabar ore to the Wang family every year. It was not difficult to make talisman brushes. He was a 3rd-grade blacksmith himself, so he could make them himself when he needed them. When he had a large amount of 3rd-grade blood dragon wood, he could make 3rd-grade talismans. The yellow spring willow he got from the yellow spring secret realm and planted next to the Gui water death flame had really survived. However, the Gui water death flame only produced yin qi and not death qi. In addition, the life spirit fire continuously produced vitality and consumed the death qi. The death qi on the yellow spring willow had become very thin, and now the bark had turned from yellow to black. Because this was a legendary item, the Beiyuan records left by the 5-element spiritual master did not explain it clearly. It only mentioned that this thing had something to do with souls. He had no idea what it was for, so he could only let it grow for the time being. The most important thing now was to raise his cultivation. He swallowed a core condensing pill and sat down to meditate. With sufficient resources, Wang Daoyuan's cultivation improved very quickly. In just 5 years, he successfully broke through to the 9th level of foundation establishment. Originally, he wanted to raise his cultivation to the peak of foundation establishment in one go. However, bad news came from his family. His elder brother, Wang Meng, was critically ill. Wang Meng was now 97 years old. Among mortals, he was considered old. After all, he was his own brother. He had to go back and send him off. He flew back to Qingxi village on his sword. Wang Meng's courtyard house was already filled with people. Wang Meng had many children and grandchildren. His oldest great-great-grandson was already over 10 years old. After Wang Daoyuan landed, everyone kowtowed and saluted him, calling him second uncle, second grandpa, great-grandfather, and ancestor. He waved his hand, and a gust of wind blew past, helping everyone up. The crowd automatically dispersed to the sides, and Wang Daoyuan walked into the main building. Wang Meng was lying on the bed. Seeing him come in, he tried to sit up. Wang Daoyuan stopped him, saying, "Brother, there's no need to get up. If you have any unfulfilled wishes, just tell me. I'll do my best to help you." With that, he used the Tsang Dragon Pearl to replenish his brother's life force so that he would have some strength to speak. Wang Meng let out a long sigh, saying, "I've lived a rich life with many children and grandchildren. My only wish is to enter the ancestral temple." Fortunately, Mingshan did not disappoint. Although he can't enter the ancestral temple now, there will be a chance in the future. If he has any difficulties, I hope you can help him. Also, Big Black, after our parents passed away, I wanted it to go with you, but it was unwilling. It has protected our family for 100 years, and our family has delayed it for 100 years. Now that my time is up, there's nothing left in Qingxi village for it to be attached to. Bring it to the family's spiritual mountain to cultivate. Wang Daoyuan nodded, saying, "Don't worry, brother. I've already prepared for Mingshan's foundation establishment. I'll bring Big Black to a place with spiritual veins to cultivate. It saved my life, so I won't treat it unfairly." At that moment, Big Black ran in from outside. Wang Daoyuan was not often at home, and he had not seen Big Black for a long time. It had already become a second-rank low-grade spirit beast. This fellow had a very high status in the Wang family. Wang Meng's descendants grew up under its protection and were very respectful to it. Big Black walked to the bed and rubbed its head against Wang Meng's. Wang Meng touched its head, saying, "Big Black, I'm leaving. You can follow second baby from now on. In order to protect our family, it delayed us for 100 years. You can follow second baby from now on and cultivate well. Big Black let out a sorrowful whimper and nodded after a long time. With a smile on his face, Wang Meng slowly closed his eyes. Wang Daoyuan walked out with tears in his eyes. With his brother gone, there was one less person in his heart that he cared about. As he walked out of the courtyard with Big Black, a deafening cry came from the courtyard. Wang Daoyuan looked back at the courtyard, but it no longer felt like home. Home was where his parents and relatives were. His parents and brother were gone. Even if there were tens of thousands of houses, they were just houses. Over the years, Dahe had been ruling over the villages and recruiting rebels. It had gathered 200 to 300 black cloud wolves. Among them, there were a dozen black cloud wolves that were very close to Big Black. Their aura was very similar to Big Black's, so they should be its descendants. With so many black cloud wolves, if they did not take them away, without Big Black to suppress them, they might attack the villagers. Over the years, the family had attached great importance to Mirror Iron Mountain and arranged a lot of people there. The surrounding demonic beasts had already been cleared. In addition, the wolves had stayed nearby for decades, so there were no wild beasts in the area. Qingxi village did not need the protection of the wolves, so they simply took them away. Jade Spring Peak could not keep 200 to 300 black cloud wolves, so it was better to take them to Fallen Dragon Ridge. Fallen Dragon Ridge was more than 1,000 miles long, and the family did not have enough manpower to occupy it all. This group of black cloud wolves could help to guard the territory and prevent other demonic beasts from occupying it. Although the black cloud wolves' cultivation was not high, few rank 2 demonic beasts were willing to provoke them. Moreover, the Thunder Ape was there. The few hotheads who were not afraid of the black cloud wolves would have to consider if they were a match for the Thunder Ape. With so many black cloud wolves, the flying boat could not hold them, so they could only run to Fallen Dragon Ridge. Fortunately, Fallen Dragon Ridge was not too far from Qingxi village. It was only about 2,000 miles in a straight line. Wang Daoyuan did not take a detour from Lingji Mountain. Instead, he led the wolves through the territories of other demonic beasts for 2,000 miles. Most of the demonic beasts in this area had been harmed by the Thunder Ape, so they usually stayed in their nests and did not dare to run around. In addition, with Wang Daoyuan around, a few demonic beasts were not convinced and were beaten up by him. Demonic beasts had stronger bodies and better endurance than humans. They ran all the way and arrived at Fallen Dragon Ridge in less than a day. Wang Daoyuan pointed to the entire mountain range and said to Big Black, "In the future, you will lead the wolves and stay in this mountain range. You can fight any demonic beasts you want. However, the people on this mountain are all my clansmen, so you can't hurt them." As a rank 2 demonic beast, Big Black could naturally understand human language and nodded. Later, Wang Daoyuan took it to meet the Thunder Ape, Yun Yi, and Golden Wings. These guys were not good-tempered. He had to let them know in advance that they were a family, so that their spirit beasts would not fight. While Wang Daoyuan was walking Big Black, the 12th uncle sent a message that there was an important matter in the family and he needed to be there to discuss it. Chapter 340. Wang Daoyuan asked Dahe to familiarize himself with the environment of Fallen Dragon Ridge. Now the biggest danger in Fallen Dragon Ridge was the Thunder Ape. As long as he had a good relationship with the Thunder Ape, he could do whatever he wanted in Fallen Dragon Ridge. Dahe and the Thunder Ape had already known each other. The Thunder Ape had always been better at provoking people than itself. It would not bully Dahe, so there was no need to worry about its safety. Wang Daoyuan flew back to Jade Spring Peak on his sword. The 12th uncle greeted him by the Jade Dragon Spring and took him directly to the auditorium without saying anything. Entering the auditorium, he saw Liang Liang and Liang Jiaxing, the head of the Liang family, talking to Liang Liang. Wang Daoyuan bowed to the fifth uncle and then cupped his hands to Liang Liang. Greetings, Elder Liang. After all, Liang Liang was also an elder of the ghost sect. Although the two families were not on good terms, the most basic etiquette was still necessary. However, after 5 years, Liang Liang's temperament had changed greatly. 5 years ago, although he also had white hair, he was hale and hearty, looking like an immortal with white hair and a youthful face. At this time, Liang Liang looked haggard with dull eyes and sunken cheeks. He did not look like a cultivator at all. He was clearly an ordinary old man who did not have much time left. Liang Liang and Liang Jiaxing also bowed. Greetings, Steward Wang. The fifth uncle said with a smile, Elder Liang, now that Daoyuan is also here, can you tell me what you want to say? Liang Liang asked, Steward Wang, I wonder if what you said 5 years ago in Wuxia Pass still counts. Wang Daoyuan thought for a moment and said, Elder Liang, are you talking about what I said when I asked you to help me block the crossbow arrows? Of course, I mean what I said. I said that day that the 12th uncle and I could return safely, and it was only a matter of time before the Wang family became a Jindan family in the future. At that time, the Wang family will focus on the Sky Chop mountain range. It doesn't matter whether the Liang family is destroyed or not. A Jindan family can still tolerate the Liang family. However, the premise is that the Liang family does not court death. If the Liang family continues to use the power of the foreign family to suppress the Wang family, then we have to do it. Liang Liang then asked Wang Jian, Elder Wang, is that what you mean? Wang Jian smiled and said, I have no objections. I'm not in charge now. Shui and Daoyuan are the ones in charge of the family's affairs. If they say it's okay, then it's okay. Wang Shui also nodded and said, if it's Daoyuan, I have no objections. Liang Liang's face lit up. He knew that he didn't have many days left to live. All these years, the Liang family had offended many people in order to fight for benefits. None of the Liang clan's disciples had the potential to establish the Violet Palace. In addition, the Wang clan already had a Zifu disciple. Wang Shui was the hope of the Wang clan, establishing a Zifu disciple wasn't a problem at all. Furthermore, Wang Daoyuan had been told by the sect master that it wouldn't take long for him to establish his Violet Palace. The words of a golden core cultivator were naturally trustworthy. In a few decades, the Wang clan would have 3 violet mansions. In addition, in the south, there was the Zifu clan, the Yang clan. Yang Yong still had a few decades left to live. In addition, Yang Yulan of the Yang clan was also a Zifu seedling. In the future, the Liang clan would no longer have any Zifu disciples, but would be sandwiched between 2 Zifu clans. Unfortunately, the Liang clan had enmity with both the Wang and Yang clans. They didn't even have the chance to rely on their thighs to protect themselves. Without a Zifu disciple, the Liang clan would only be a slightly stronger foundation establishment clan. How could they withstand the combined pressure of 2 Zifu clans? Wang Daoyuan saw that he was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth and sneered, Elder Liang, don't be happy too early. My Wang clan isn't interested in destroying the Liang clan, but we also won't watch as the Liang clan occupies my Wang clan's ancestral property. Hearing this, Liang Liang's expression changed. He asked, what does Manager Wang want to do? My Wang clan only wants the east of Clear Glass River and the north of Clear Stream. This was the fief of my clan's ancestor in the past, and is also the Wang clan's territory recognized by the Netherworld sect. We don't care about the other territories, nor are we interested in caring. Of course, we can't take it back now. That would force the Liang clan into a dead end. The Liang clan can continue to stay here and move away after finding another spirit mountain. I think that the Yang clan should only care about the territory south of Clear Stream, and won't care about the other territories. As for where the Liang clan will find a spirit mountain in the future, our Wang clan won't care. After all, us cultivation clans are nothing more than for the clan to have a bit more cultivators and occupy a bit more property. If we can take back our ancestral property without having to do anything, we'll naturally be very happy. Wang Daoyuan said with a fake smile. Hearing this, Liang Liang and Liang Jiaxing both fell into deep thought. Although they already thought that the Wang clan might want territory, they didn't think that the Wang clan's appetite would be so big, taking back all of the Wang clan's territory that they've occupied for nearly 400 years. The east, south and north are the territories of the Wang and Yang clans. The Wang clan doesn't care about the west of Clear Glass River, that's hinting to take care of the Meng clan. After a while, Liang Liang asked, "You're talking about the Meng clan?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "I didn't say anything, I was just asking for a debt from the Liang clan. I wonder when the Liang clan will return my Wang clan's property?" Liang Liang also smiled knowingly, when the Liang clan takes down Ash Cloud Peak, they'll return the territory east of Clear Glass River and north of Clear Stream. Wang Daoyuan's meaning was to let the Liang clan swallow up the Meng clan, and the Wang clan take back their ancestral property. Those territories occupied by the Liang clan are all the essence. This way, without having to use weapons, they can take back the territory, and the Wang clan can also develop the Heaven/Mountain range with peace of mind. As for the Meng clan's life and death, what does it have to do with the Wang clan? Wang Daoyuan shook his head and said, "What Meng clan, I'm not sure. The Wang clan only cares about their own territory and doing business. As long as the Liang clan finds other spiritual mountains and returns my ancestral property, it's fine." Liang Liang said with a smile, "When my Liang clan finds a spiritual mountain, we'll naturally return the Wang clan's ancestral property. This old man has one more thing. Jiaxing has a daughter named Liang Zian. She's about the same age as Steward Wang, and her cultivation is at the 3rd level of foundation establishment. I wonder if Steward Wang has the intention of marrying a wife? This old fellow wants to rely on a marriage alliance to pull the two clans closer, lest the Wang clan fall out with him after he passes away. If the marriage alliance doesn't work out, Liang Liang probably won't leave in peace." Wang Daoyuan shook his head and said, "My thoughts are all on cultivation. To me, the Golden Core realm isn't impossible. Elder Liang should also know that keeping one's primordial yang is more or less helpful in cultivation. Before forming the Golden Core, I won't consider marrying a wife. However, second brother and third brother are only a few years older than me. As a younger brother, I shouldn't say too much about the two elder brothers' matters. It's still up to the elders to make the decision." Wang Jian stroked his beard and said with a smile, "Since it's the younger generation's marriage, I can make the decision. Daoxing's talent is not bad, and his cultivation is at the 5th level of foundation establishment. It's just that his personality is a little reckless. It's time to find someone to discipline him." Liang Liang said with satisfaction, "Since that's the case, then I'll go back first. I still have important matters to attend to in the clan, goodbye." After settling the Liang clan's future and the marriage alliance with the Wang clan, Liang Liang was finally at ease. Wang Shui politely sent Liang Liang to the south of the Jade Dragon Spring. Liang Liang brought Liang Jiaxing and flew south on his sword. Wang Jian pointed at Wang Daoyuan and said with a smile, "Daoyuan, you've been either in seclusion or traveling for so many years. You haven't really cared about the clan's matters. I originally thought that your methods would be a little rusty, but I didn't expect you to be even more experienced and ruthless. If it were up to me, I'd at most let the Liang clan return the properties along Qingxi and Qingli River. I didn't expect that with such a hint, Liang Liang, this old man would actually agree to return all the territories and even be grateful. It's just that I've been friends with the previous clan leader of the Meng clan for so many years. Now that I've tricked the Meng clan, I feel a little bad." Chapter 341. Wang Daoyuan didn't mind at all. Meng Chongfeng likes to play petty tricks too much, but he can't see the situation clearly. The Wang, Yang, and Meng families have been friends for hundreds of years, but he doesn't value our relationship. The Yang family doesn't like him, and their relationship with our Wang family isn't very good. He's wholeheartedly colluding with those in Heian County, hoping to borrow their influence to raise his own status. To put it bluntly, he's bringing in external powers to suppress the Wang and Yang families. He's always thinking of currying favor instead of increasing his own family's strength. This kind of person who can't see the situation clearly is an unstable factor. Who knows when he might cause trouble for our two families? It's not good to keep him. Using the Meng family's territory in exchange for our Wang family's ancestral property without shedding a drop of blood, I think it's pretty good. At this time, Wang Shui returned from outside and asked, I think it's not bad either. The Meng family will cause trouble for our Wang family sooner or later. Daoyuan, how do you think Liang will scheme against the Meng family? Wang Daoyuan laughed lightly. Who knows? Liang must have run to the Yang family now. After the negotiations, it'll be time to hold the wedding. As for dealing with the Meng family, it'll take some time. Who knows what he'll do? He can't just charge into Ash Cloud Peak and kill Meng Chongfeng, can he? Wang Shui shook his head. I think it's quite possible. Liang doesn't have many days left, and he still has to negotiate a marriage with the Yang family. He doesn't have time to scheme, so he can only cut the Gordian knot. The simplest and most effective method is to kill Meng Chongfeng, then Liang will die in the Meng family's territory and frame the Meng family. After that, he'll negotiate with the Yang family and pin the blame on the Meng family. The Liang family's Zifu will be killed by the Meng family, and the Liang family will ask for compensation with the Meng family's assets. Our Wang and Yang families won't care about this matter, so the Liang family will ask the other factions to help. Liang will die, but the other factions will still have some face. With the Wang and Yang families here, no other family will dare have any ideas about this territory. If the Liang family really does this, it's very likely they'll swallow the Meng family's territory. Wang Daoyuan sucked in a breath of cold air. I'm used to playing dirty, so I didn't think about this. Now that you mention it, if Liang really wants to use force, the chances of success are very high. On the other side, Liang and Liang Jiaxing returned to the Blue Cloud Peak and informed the elders of the Liang family about the Wang family's attitude. Liang Jiaxing sighed and said, "It's said that a dog that bites doesn't bark." I originally thought that Wang Daoyuan was just a junior with a bit of cleverness. She didn't expect him to bark so happily and bite so fiercely. His mind is especially vicious. He didn't even bat an eyelid when sacrificing a family friend of hundreds of years. Liang nodded and said, "You underestimated Wang Daoyuan. Our Liang family also underestimated the Wang and Yang two families. I don't have many days left, and you're already over 200 years old. The family will be handed over to Zipeng in the future." The Yang family had Yang Yulan, so they could still be stable for a few hundred years. The Wang family was very likely to become a Jindan family in the future. Even Zipeng, who has the best talent in our family, doesn't have a high chance of establishing a Violet Palace. Before I die, I will take down Ash Cloud Peak. In the future, all of you should try to live with your tails between your legs. If you encounter any problems, follow the Wang clan. Don't even think about expanding. Properly guard the foundation that I sacrificed my life for. When a Violet Palace realm cultivator appears among the younger generation, we can expand to the west. Our matter with the Wang clan has already been settled. Jiaxing and I will go to the Yang clan. After he finished speaking, he flew towards the south with Liang Jiaxing. On the Wang clan side, Wang Daoyuan and Wang Shui arrived at Wang Daoxing's cave residence. After all, if they wanted to marry a wife for him, he had to agree first. The two most eloquent people in the Wang clan personally came to persuade him. How could they not convince a simple-minded person? The two of them told Wang Daoxing about the marriage between the two clans and told him about the benefits of marrying a wife. The 2-century-old bachelors clearly didn't have enough persuasive power when they talked about the benefits of marrying a wife. But with their shrewdness, they managed to coax Wang Daoxing into a daze. In the end, Wang Daoyuan even promised to pass down the inheritance of the Origin Sword sect to him. Only then did he reluctantly agree to marry Liang Xian. A few days later, the Liang family sent someone to discuss the date of Liang Xian's marriage with the Wang clan. The date was set to be half a month later. It seemed that Liang didn't have much time left. The Liang family was anxious. The Wang clan seized the time to decorate. Half a month later, it was the day of the wedding. Wang Daoxing rode on the Jade Spring flying boat. The flying boat also carried a large red bridal sedan and more than 20 Ming generation members to the Qingyun Peak. In order to prevent any trouble, Wang Daoyuan was also in the wedding procession. The Jade Spring flying boat could fly 1,500 to 600 miles in 2 hours. It only took a little more than 2 hours to reach the Qingyun Peak. Wang Daoyuan had never been to the Qingyun Peak before. When he passed by on his sword, he only took a look from afar. Only when he got closer did he feel the magnificence of the Qingyun Peak. The Qingyun Peak spirit vein was a third-level lower-grade spirit vein of water and wood. It couldn't be compared to the Jade Spring Peak. But in terms of the terrain, the Jade Spring Peak couldn't be compared to the Qingyun Peak. The Jade Spring Peak's routes were only 20 to 30 miles long from east to west, 10 miles wide from north to south, and 500 feet at its highest point. The Qingyun Peak's routes were more than 100 miles long from north to south, 50 to 60 miles wide from east to west, and more than 1,000 feet tall. Because of the abundance of wood attribute spirit qi, the Qingyun Peak had a lot of spirit fields, about 2 to 300 mu. The Jade Spring Peak had less than 100 mu. In the Liang clan's territory, there were also 2 second-level spirit veins and more than 10 first-level spirit veins. These were the foundations left behind by their ancestors. They had been lost for almost 400 years, and they would soon be reclaimed. The wedding procession arrived at the mountain. Wang Daoyuan was in the wedding procession, and Liang personally came out to receive him. Wang Daoyuan accompanied Liang and Liang Jiaxing to chat for a while. On the other side, Liang Zipeng carried Liang Xian onto the bridal sedan. After the wedding procession returned. A few people from the Liang clan also went to the Jade Spring Peak to send the bride off. When the wedding procession returned to the Jade Spring Peak, the Wang clan held a big banquet. All the clan sent foundation establishment cultivators to congratulate them. Even the clans from Heong County and Qingli County came. The Yang clan sent Yang Ziyuan and Yang Yulin together. Only the Meng clan sent a single qi refinement cultivator. After the wedding and the banquet were over, everyone dispersed. Yang Ziyuan and Yang Yulin stayed behind, and Wang Daoyuan invited them into the auditorium. Yang Ziyuan asked Wang Shui, "Aren't we being a bit too ruthless in dealing with the Meng clan? After all, our 3 clans have been friends for hundreds of years, and many of our clans have been united through marriage. I really can't bear to ignore the Meng clan now." Wang Daoyuan ordered people to bring the gifts from the Meng clan. When they opened it, they saw a low-grade second-level long sword magic tool and 2 bottles of medicinal pills. Everyone scanned it with their divine sense, and knew how many pills were inside. Wang Daoyuan then ordered people to take out the list of gifts that the Wang clan had given to other clans over the years. He flipped to a page and showed it to Yang Ziyuan and Yang Yulin. Wang Daoyuan snorted coldly, "The Yang clan is a Zifu clan." This time, senior and cousin Yulin came together. Meng Chongfeng only sent a single qi refinement cultivator, and the gift he gave us was the gift that the Wang clan gave him when he succeeded as the Meng clan's patriarch. What's the meaning of this? The Meng clan only has a single 5th level foundation establishment cultivator, and he dares to throw his face at our Wang clan? Does our Wang clan need the Meng clan's approval to form a marriage alliance with anyone? Meng Chongfeng's cultivation talent is above average, and it's not impossible for him to establish a zifu. Now, he dares to drag the cultivators of Heong County into the matters of the northern part of Qingli County, and doesn't take our two clans seriously. In the future, if he can establish a zifu, won't he ride on our necks and shit? Now, does the Yang clan still want to protect the Meng clan? Yang Ziyuan looked at the list, and the Wang clan's gifts were exactly the same as the Meng clan's. He let out a long sigh. This Meng Chongfeng is shrewd in small matters, but how can he be so muddle-headed when it comes to big matters? Forget it, our Yang clan has no objections. Let them be. It's a waste not to take the territory south of Qingxi County. Our two clans will play dumb, and how far the Liang clan can go will depend on their own abilities. Chapter 342. Wang Shui nodded and said with a smile, "It's best that Yang clan thinks this way. Let's not meddle in this matter. Since Meng Chongfeng has this ambition, let's let him properly display his abilities. If he doesn't take our clans seriously, there's no need for our clans to give up the territory we took for free for him." Yang Ziyuan and Yang Yulin chatted for a while more before taking their leave. Wang Daoyuan sent the two to the shore of Jade Dragon Spring. After the two flew away on their swords, he also returned to his own abode. Liang might make a move against Meng clan in the near future. It was still unknown how big of a disturbance this matter would cause. There might be many things that he needed to take care of, so he didn't leave Jade Spring Peak. After cultivating in seclusion in his abode for a month, 12th uncle personally came to his abode. He asked doubtfully, "What, did Liang clan make a move?" Wang Shui said with a smile, "Just now, when Chasing Wave was flying from Jade Spring Peak to Clear Glass City, the steward of the ship saw Liang go to Ash Cloud Peak alone. I told him in advance to pay attention to Liang clan's movements. After he saw Liang, he immediately sent me a message. At this time, Liang should have just arrived at Ash Cloud Peak." When Wang Daoyuan heard this, he also became interested. So Liang clan is going to make a move. It seems that after today, Meng clan will disappear. It won't take long for our Wang clan to take back our ancestral property. 4 hours later, news came from Wang clan's Dark Hall. 5 foundation building cultivators of Liang clan besieged Ash Cloud Peak. Liang clan claimed that Meng clan killed Liang clan's ancestor. Meng clan was caught unprepared and hastily activated the mountain barrier, but they couldn't hold on for long. Liang clan's 5 foundation building cultivators only used a quarter of an hour to break the mountain barrier formation. Meng clan's disciples suffered heavy casualties. Wang Daoyuan glanced at 12th uncle. Liang is worthy of being a treasure-seizing cultivator. This Liang clan's methods are really wild. You guessed right. Liang really did come to kill Meng Chongfeng and then died in Meng clan. What's done is done, Meng clan is already done for. If our two families don't interfere, no one in the north of Qingli County can control the Liang family. The Meng family only had 2 or 3 ordinary disciples in the underworld sect. They didn't have any backing. The Liang family could then fool the General Affairs Hall of the Netherworld sect so that they could not find any fault with it, or they could use money to bribe the steward of the General Affairs Hall who came to investigate. Liang should still have some friends in the foreign faction. As long as they spent some money, they could invite a few elders who were on good terms with Liang to help them out. The Netherworld sect would not go to war for a small Meng family. In this way, the Meng family's territory and properties were in their hands. 50 years ago, I saved Meng Qingshan. Before he died, he repeatedly told Meng Changfeng to set his sights in the long run, to consider the big picture, and to follow our two clans. It seems like Meng Qingshan knew what kind of person Meng Changfeng was. If Meng Changfeng had listened to even half of his dying words, the Meng family wouldn't be where it is today. Wang Shi sighed, a leopard can't change its spots. Meng Changfeng was a bit like the emperor of the Song Kingdom. They were both skillful, but they lacked the ability to see the big picture. They could only see the benefits, but not the risks. He forgot his own life for the sake of small profits, and he happened to be born into a declining family like the Meng family. Wang Daoyuan shook his head. It's not that I look down on Meng Changfeng, but he really doesn't deserve to be compared to Song Yan. No matter what, Song Yan was a ruthless person who could deal with the 6 golden core factions of the Song Kingdom and beat back the 3 kingdoms of Qi, Chu, and Wu. Attacking the Zhao Kingdom was also taking the risk of being crippled to fight for the entire Zhao Kingdom. If they succeeded, the Song nation's territory would expand by several times. Even if he failed, there would be no danger of the kingdom falling. As for Meng Changfeng, he couldn't even stir up the small mud pit in the northern part of Qingli County. For some small profits, he offended the Wang and Yang families, causing the destruction of his family. Even if he were in Song Yan's position, he would still be able to drag the Song family down with him. 2 days later, Yang Yong sent a letter to the Wang family, asking them to send people over to deal with the Liang and Meng families. Wang Daoyuan did not say anything else and rushed to Qingli City. When he arrived at the underworld sect's encampment, a foundation establishment cultivator of the Liang family immediately welcomed him and brought him to the meeting hall. At this moment, there were 3 people in the meeting hall, all of them familiar faces. Sitting on the main seat was the previous guardian of Qingli City, Zhou Qi. On the left was Yang Yong, and on the right was Liang Jiaxing. Wang Daoyuan bowed, "Greetings Elder Zhou, greetings Elder Yang." Zhou Qi smiled, "Steward Wang, long time no see. When I left Qingli City, you had only just reached foundation establishment. In a short 50 years, you are already at the 9th level of foundation establishment. With this cultivation speed, even the Golden Core direct disciples of the sect can at most be on par with you. I have also left for many years and do not know much about the matters here. Your Wang, Yang, and Liang families are the 3 strongest families in the northern part of Qingli County. How to deal with the Meng family's matter depends on your opinions." With that, he pointed to the seat on the right, indicating for Wang Daoyuan to sit down. Wang Daoyuan did not refuse. After sitting down, he cupped his hands and said, "Ever since second brother got married, I have been cultivating in seclusion. I want to reach the peak of foundation establishment as soon as possible so that I can go out and find an opportunity to open the Violet Palace. In the past few decades, I have either been traveling or in seclusion. I do not know much about the Meng family, so I do not know what is going on." Zhou Qi glanced at Liang Jiaxing, indicating for him to speak. Liang Jiaxing immediately understood and said while crying, "Steward Wang, my family's ancestor paid a visit to Ash Cloud Peak 2 days ago. The 2 families have had many conflicts in the past few hundred years. During this period of time, the old ancestor had also talked things out with the Wang family and the Yang family. But not long after the ancestor went to the Meng family, the clansman guarding the soul lamp reported that the ancestor's soul lamp had been extinguished. I took a few foundation establishment clansmen to seek justice. But I did not expect that the Meng family would activate the mountain guarding formation without any explanation. In order to retrieve the ancestor's remains, we broke the formation. After entering Ash Cloud Peak, we found the ancestor dead in the Meng family's auditorium. Meng Changfeng also died in the auditorium, beaten to death by my family's ancestor. When my family's ancestor went to settle the feud between the 2 families, Meng Changfeng must have had evil intentions and poisoned my family's ancestor. After my family's ancestor discovered that he had been poisoned, he beat Meng Changfeng to death. After Liang Jiaxing finished speaking, Zhou Qi asked, Daoyuan, what do you think of the truth of this matter? Is it possible that Meng Changfeng poisoned Elder Liang? Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time before answering, I have not had many dealings with Meng Changfeng, so I do not know much about this person. The Meng family and the Liang family do have many conflicts. However, ever since the failure of the crusade against the Red-Beard bandits, I have not heard of any conflicts between the two families. Wang Daoyuan was taking sides by saying that the Meng family and the Liang family had many conflicts. This was hinting to Zhou Qi that Meng Changfeng had a motive to kill Liang. The Liang family had also visited the Yang family before, so they had probably reached some kind of tacit understanding. Before he came, Yang Yong might have already told Zhou Qi about Meng Changfeng's style of doing things. In addition, Wang Daoyuan said that the two families had conflicts, so Zhou Qi would first form a bad impression of Meng Changfeng. Zhou Qi had also stayed in Clear Glass City for many years, so he naturally knew that the Wang family, Yang family, and Meng family were allies and had conflicts with the Liang family. He nodded and said, no matter what is said here, it is only a one-sided story. Let's go to Ash Cloud Peak to see the bodies of Elder Liang and Meng Changfeng. The Liang family had occupied Ash Cloud Peak and had already arranged everything that needed to be arranged. Liang Jiaxing definitely had no objections. The Wang and Yang families were just here to watch the show. If the Liang family could act this show well, they could swallow the Meng family's territory. If this show was not played well, the Liang family would have to obediently spit out their territory after being dealt with. The three of them had no objections. Yang Yong took out a flying boat, and the four of them boarded it and flew to Ash Cloud Peak. Chapter 343. The four of them arrived at Ash Cloud Peak. The last time Wang Daoyuan came to Ash Cloud Peak was during Meng Qingshan's funeral. It had been decades, but the scenery on the mountain hadn't changed much. However, there was no one from the Meng family, and only the Liang family could be seen. The ground had been cleaned up, and it looked like nothing had happened. However, the broken buildings, as well as the traces left by spells and flying swords, still told people about the bloody storm that had just ended. The four of them walked into the auditorium, which hadn't been cleaned and was still the same as before. Liang was lying near the door with a ferocious expression. Meng Changfeng was nailed to the west mountain wall of the auditorium by a flying sword, and a lot of blood flowed out of his mouth and nose. This flying sword was Liang's. The main table in the auditorium was kicked to the ground, and a teacup was broken. Zhou Qi walked to Liang's body, swept it with his spiritual sense, and said, Elder Liang's heart has been corroded. He should have been poisoned by heart-eroding powder. This poison is colorless and tasteless. Once poisoned, if there is no detoxification method, he will die in half a cup of tea's time. No one below the golden core stage can withstand it. Elder Liang's limit is not far. After being poisoned, the poison will only spread faster. He checked the broken teacup with his spiritual sense, and said, there is indeed heart-eroding powder in the teacup. Elder Liang may have discovered the poison after drinking the tea. After that, he fought with Meng Changfeng and killed him with a sword. He wanted to go out, but he died before reaching the door. As for whether this is the case, I can't confirm it. By the way, is there anyone else who knows? Liang Jiaxing shook his head, and said, no. When we broke through Ash Cloud Peak, some of the Meng family cultivators fled, and some continued to resist. Those who resisted were killed, and there are no more Meng family members on Ash Cloud Peak. Zhou Qi nodded, and said, then that's it for now. I will return to the sect and report this matter to the General Affairs Hall Master. As for how the Liang and Meng families will be decided, it will be up to the Hall Master. Liang Jiaxing wiped his tears, and asked, may I ask Elder Zhou, can my ancestor's body be collected? He has passed away for more than 2 days. In order to wait for the sect to come and verify it, we haven't dared to collect the body. Junior really cannot bear to see the corpse of my ancestor exposed here, so I ask for Elder Zhou's mercy. Zhou Qi nodded and said, "What should be seen has been seen. There is no need to continue to let the two of them lie here. Put away Elder Liang's corpse. After all, he is an elder of my underworld sect. You can't lose face. We don't even know where the Meng family members are. You should clean up Meng Changfeng's body as well. I still have to return to the sect to report this matter, so I won't stay any longer." Everyone cupped their hands and said, "Farewell, Elder Zhou." After Zhou Qi left, Wang Daoyuan and Yang Ziyuan continued to stay here. There was no reason for them to stay, so they went back home. There was nothing to look forward to after that. Zhou Qi didn't find any flaws on the spot, and both parties were dead. The people of the Meng clan were either dead or had fled. There was no way to investigate. If he wanted to find out what happened at that time, he would have to use the time reversal technique or summon the souls of the two to ask. However, the time reversal technique was a legendary technique. It was impossible for a golden core cultivator to use it. After people of the cultivation world died, if they couldn't use the soul retrieval technique to collect their souls in a short period of time, then their souls would quickly disappear. The two of them had already been dead for 2 days. Their souls had already run off to God knows where. Even if he wanted to collect their souls, there was no way to find them. No one spoke up for the Meng clan. The Liang clan asked an elder from another sect to help. This matter was already a sure win for the Liang clan. Sure enough, half a month later, the underworld sect sent someone to announce the result. The Meng clan murdered an elder of the underworld sect. Their crime was to be exterminated, but the mastermind was already dead. The Meng clan would no longer pursue the crimes of the other members of the Meng clan. The people of the Meng clan fled everywhere. No one dared to come out to claim the property. All the property of the Meng clan was given to the Liang clan as compensation. When the news came, the old clans of the northern part of Qingli County expressed their dissatisfaction. They wanted the Wang and Yang clans to stand up and seek justice for the Meng clan. There were even some clans of Heiyang County who were involved. These clans were roped in by the Meng clan. They wanted to meddle in the affairs of the northern part of Qingli County. The Wang and Yang clans' attitudes were very clear. They supported the underworld sect's decision. Whoever disagreed could go to the underworld sect to cause trouble. However, Wang Shui sent someone to leak the news that the Meng clan returned the gifts at Wang Daoxing's wedding. This time, no one came to cause trouble with the Wang clan. After all, the Meng clan was in the wrong first. They returned the gifts that were given out decades ago. They really didn't put the Wang clan in their eyes. They might as well not have come. If they hadn't come, they would have had a reason to refuse. If they had done this, there was no room for negotiation. The Meng clan didn't know how to appreciate favors. The Wang clan was already very benevolent for not personally suppressing the Meng clan. This time, the other clans didn't cause any more trouble. After all, they were only concerned about their own kind. They didn't really want to take revenge for the Meng clan. The Meng clan was destroyed by the Liang clan. The Wang and Yang clans didn't care. They were worried that they would end up like the Meng clan in the future. Now that they knew that Meng Changfeng was courting death, the Wang clan had ample reason to not take action. They had nothing to say. The Meng clan was already history. No one would really provoke two Zifu clans for a destroyed clan. This disturbance quickly came to an end. The northern part of Qingli County returned to tranquility. The Liang clan only lost Liang Liang, who was nearing the end of his lifespan. In addition to the resources that they secretly gave to the underworld sex elders, they obtained the entire Meng clan's territory. Although the Meng clan wasn't strong, their territory wasn't small. Apart from the fact that the Ash Cloud Peak only had a high-grade level 2 spirit vein, which was far inferior to the Jade Spring Peak, the properties in their territory were much stronger than the Wang clan before Wang Daoyuan left the mountain. With these conditions, it was a bit difficult to establish the foundation of a Zifu clan. However, it was still easy to support a strong foundation establishment clan. The voices of opposition disappeared. The Liang clan took over all of the Meng clan's properties and gradually moved their clansmen into the Meng clan's territory. The Liang clan was at the beginning of the clan's development. Previously, they didn't have many ordinary clansmen. They also occupied a large territory with only 30 to 40,000 ordinary clansmen. Most of the clansmen could live near spirit veins. With sufficient spirit qi, the probability of the ordinary clansmen giving birth to cultivators was higher. The Liang clan had quite a few cultivators. Even after being exhausted by the Red-Beard bandits, they still had about 100 clansmen after a few decades of recuperation. The Wang clan's cultivators slowly surpassed the Liang clans after Wang Daoyuan proposed to provide spirit grains for pregnant cultivators and their close relatives free of charge. If not for their fear of the Wang and Yang clans, the Liang clan wouldn't have given up their own territory after taking over the Meng clan's territory. However, the Liang clan didn't dare to go back on their promise to the Wang and Yang clans. While moving their clansmen into the Meng clan's territory, they also gradually handed over their properties to the Wang and Yang clans. After more than a year, the Wang clan finally took over all of the territory east of Qingli River and north of Qingxi River. At this point, the Wang, Yang, and Liang clans were separated by Qingli River and Qingxi River. Of course, there were some territories near Jade Spring Peak on the west bank of Qingli River that belonged to the Wang clan. Ever since the Wang clan established itself, these territories belonged to the Wang clan. After all, they were in the vicinity of Jade Spring Peak. The other clans didn't dare to fight over these territories. Moreover, the value of these territories was very low. There were only a few scattered low-grade mines, and their development value was extremely low. The Wang clan only used these territories as a buffer zone. They didn't develop them much, and there weren't many ordinary clansmen living there. The Wang and Liang clans' main territories were still separated by Qingli River. The three clans all had the advantage of water transportation. For the time being, there weren't any conflicts. The northern part of Qingli River should be peaceful for many days. Chapter 344. In the process of the two families handing over territory, many things happened. Some spirit veins were taken away by the Liang family first, and the Wang family did not take over in time, so there were rogue cultivators who were not afraid of death who dared to occupy the place. Some foundation establishment rogue cultivators even chased away the Liang family and occupied the spirit veins when they found out that the Liang family was giving up their territory. The Liang family only wanted to leave as soon as possible and did not dare to take everything away, so they did not send cultivators to clean them up. But the Wang family could not sit back and do nothing. These were their own things. For more than a year, Wang Daoyuan rode Yunyi every day to patrol the territory he was about to take over. If he encountered rogue cultivators who took advantage of him, he would kill them with a sword. Although Yunyi was so fat that his legs could not be seen, it was a flying spirit beast after all, and its speed far exceeded that of a foundation establishment cultivator's flying sword. As long as a rogue cultivator dared to make a move, he would definitely not be able to escape Wang Daoyuan's pursuit. After killing the rogue cultivators who took advantage of the situation, he would set up a stake along the banks of the clear stream or Qingli River and put the heads on it. In the past year, more than 100 heads had been placed on the banks of Qingli River and Qingli River. The effect was also very obvious, and no rogue cultivators dared to seize the property. However, Wang Daoyuan's reputation among the rogue cultivators also spread. Most rogue cultivators did not dare to call him by his name, but called him that senior. This commonly used name became Wang Daoyuan's exclusive name among the rogue cultivators in the northern part of Qingli County. In the process of the Wang family taking over the territory, although there were rogue cultivators causing trouble, there were no losses. After all, no rogue cultivator dared to attack the territory that the Wang family had already occupied. Wang Daoyuan also obtained more than 100,000 spirit stones by killing rogue cultivators, and was one step closer to the 700,000 spirit stones needed to exchange for the yin-yang purple jade. Although the territory seized by the Liang family wasn't that big, there were a lot of industries. After taking back these territories, the number of industries of the Wang family more than doubled. However, the resources produced by these industries did not have to worry about not being able to sell. After all, these resources were not completely new like Yusong Mountain, and the total amount of resources in the northern part of Qingli County did not increase. It was just that the ones selling resources changed from the Liang family to the Wang family. These properties were secondary. The most important thing was the spirit vein. In the newly reclaimed territory, there was the Blue Cloud Peaks Rank 3 inferior spirit vein, 2 Rank 2 spirit veins, and more than 10 Rank 1 spirit veins. These spirit veins could accommodate 40 to 50,000 mortals. Mortals who lived near spirit veins were nourished by spirit qi and had a much higher chance of giving birth to descendants of cultivators. As long as they moved tens of thousands of people to the newly reclaimed territory. In the future, the number of cultivators in the Wang clan would increase rapidly. The Wang clan now had a total of 180,000 mortals. Among them, the total population at Linji Mountain and Jade Pine Mountain already exceeded 10,000. It had been more than 70 years since Wang Daoyuan left the mountain, but the population had yet to double. The growth rate was indeed slow. The slow growth of the population was mainly due to diseases. In the world of immortal cultivators, there were also medical inheritances, which could be considered as a branch of alchemy. However, these medical skills were mainly targeted at cultivators. Cultivators would only be poisoned and injured, but they would never fall sick. Therefore, there was no content in the medical inheritance that could treat mortal illnesses. Wang Daoyuan did not study medicine in his previous life, so it was not worth it to specialize in mortal medicine. In the central part of Beiyuan Xiuxian, in the Zhou country, there were many small countries formed by mortals. There would definitely be medical inheritances that targeted mortals, so he could go look for them in the future. To an immortal cultivator clan, the number of mortals was the cornerstone of the clan's prosperity. Although there were many places in the Wang clan's territory that were not suitable for mortals to live in, just the fertile plains along the rivers and lakes were enough to support a few million mortals. Of course, in a place like the northern part of Qingli County, which was at the edge of human territory, a clan could not possibly have a few million mortals. Every few hundred years, there would be a beast tide. Cultivators could still abandon their clan and escape, but mortals simply did not have the ability to escape. Every time there was a beast tide, the various immortal cultivator clans would suffer heavy losses. Mortals would not even survive. The number of mortals that could survive a beast tide mainly depended on how many spirit mountains the clan had. Places with spirit veins could set up formations. Using the formations to block first and second level demonic beasts and protect mortals. High-level demonic beasts would not be interested in mortals. If they wanted to attack, they would attack spirit veins that were third level and above. After the Liang clan left, the dozen or so spirit veins left behind had to be protected by formations. Clansmen were also sent to guard them, so as to prevent people from thinking about them. In addition, the reclaimed properties also needed manpower to take care of them. The spirit fields were easy to manage. The entire Liang clan's territory only had a few hundred mu of spirit fields. The spirit plant hall could easily send a few people to coordinate with some mortals to take care of them. The forest and mines were more troublesome. Large amounts of manpower were needed to restore production. It would take at least 2 to 3 years for the clan to migrate enough mortals over. It was not reliable to recruit a large number of loose cultivators. Loose cultivators were mostly cunning people. Using a few loose cultivators could still be controlled. But if they hired more loose cultivators, they would become bolder. They might even dare to steal ores and bully the clan disciples who managed the mines. It was also impossible for the clan to send foundation establishment cultivators to watch over every property. Therefore, within 3 years, the newly reclaimed properties would not be able to restore the production of resources to the previous level. However, he did not need to care about these things. The mines and forest were managed by the Mine Mountain Hall and the Spirit Wood Hall. The migration of mortals was also managed by the General Affairs Hall. What he needed to do was to set up the formations and refine the flying boat. He could leave the mountain protection formations of the Rank 1 and Rank 2 spirit veins to his little uncle Wang Shouja. After his own guidance and 20 years of exploration, he was now an inferior Rank 2 formation master. He was completely capable of setting up the mountain protection formations of the Rank 1 and Rank 2 spirit veins. The clan had now created the formation division, and the chief steward was Wang Shouja. The formation division was mainly responsible for maintaining the mountain protection formations of the various properties of the clan as well as setting up simple mountain protection formations. Currently, the number of formation masters was still relatively small. Other than Wang Shouja, there were a few little fellows from the Ming generation. These little fellows had only just entered the sect and were learning the way of formations from Wang Shouja. When Wang Shouja was setting up the formations, they would assist him. Only he could set up the mountain protection formation of the Rank 3 spirit vein of Qingyun Peak. The task of refining the flying boat also needed to be completed as soon as possible. The construction of the Bailing market in the central part of Qingli County had already been completed. The Jade Spring flying boat that was previously idle was also put to use. The Jade Spring flying boat usually traveled between the Qingli market and the Bailing market to transport goods and cultivators. The Bailing market had just been established and was lacking in various resources. Now that there was a flying boat connecting the two places, many cultivators in the central part of Qingli County took the flying boat to the Qingli market to purchase various resources. Some itinerant cultivators also took the flying boat from the Qingli market to the Bailing market to sell some resources. The Wang clan's business of transporting goods and passengers was extremely prosperous. With only one Jade Spring flying boat, they could not manage all of them. It would be best if they could have a bigger flying boat. Only with 2 flying boats could they meet the needs of transporting goods and passengers between the two markets. The Wang clan had taken over a large area of land and needed a flying boat to help them migrate and transport the resources produced by the various properties. They also needed to keep one as a backup, which meant that they needed to build 3 flying boats. It was not like when he was refining the flying boat in the Underworld sect, where he had a large number of weapon forgers and formation masters to assist him. The Wang clan's weapon forgery department had also been upgraded to the weapon forgery hall, with Zhao Yang as the weapon forgery elder. The weapon forgery hall had also nurtured more than 10 rank 1 upper-grade weapon forgers, but they had not nurtured any rank 2 weapon forgers. Therefore, the construction of the 3 flying boats depended entirely on the efforts of Wang Daoyuan and Zhao Yang. The others could only help cut the wooden planks and carve the formation patterns and weapon patterns. None of them could help. Chapter 345. According to the rules of the cultivation world, a spirit vein with an array formation had an owner. Therefore, after occupying a spirit vein, one had to immediately set up an array formation. Without a huge grudge, itinerant cultivators would not attack a spirit mountain with an owner. If there was no array formation, it meant that the spirit vein had no owner and anyone could occupy it. Although Wang Daoyuan had killed many itinerant cultivators previously, no one dared to court death easily. However, Blue Cloud Peak's inferior grade 3 spirit vein was too tempting. Even though they already knew that this place belonged to the Wang clan and that Wang Daoyuan, the god of death, was in charge, there were still many foundational cultivators who were eyeing this place. Wang Daoyuan didn't even dare to enter a meditative state. It was urgent to set up a defensive array formation. Blue Cloud Peak's spirit vein had both water and wood attributes, so it was best to set up an array formation with both attributes. He did not know what array formation the Liang family had set up previously. When they retreated, they took everything that could be taken away. There were no materials left for setting up the array formation, and all the spirit plants in the spirit fields were transplanted. Only the spirit trees that had grown for hundreds of years on the mountain did not dare to touch them. After all, most of those spirit trees were planted by the Wang family back then. If the Liang family dared to touch those spirit trees, the Wang family would definitely continue to suppress them and Liang would have died in vain. The Liang family was still clear about what could and could not be touched. It did not matter if he did not know about the previous array formation. The 5 elements perfected being was proficient in array formations, and there were many powerful array formations in his inheritance. Wang Daoyuan found a water-wood dual-attribute array formation called the Green-Wood Illusory Cloud Array. This array formation was to create an environment and wait for an opportunity to sneak in. Together with offensive plants like the vampiric vine, it was extremely powerful. This Greenwood Illusory Cloud Array was also an inferior grade 3 array formation and was just right for Blue Cloud Peak's spirit vein. Wang Daoyuan had to set up the array formation as soon as possible and then refine the flying boat. Time was tight, so he did not carefully set up the array core. He first set up the framework of the array formation and then used some Dharma treasures to suppress some of the array core's functions. As long as the array formation could be used, itinerant cultivators would not dare to spy on Blue Cloud Peak. The Greenwood Illusory Cloud formation was not a purely offensive formation. It also had a defensive barrier. It could be used together with defensive Dharma artifacts to increase the strength of the defensive barrier and defend against enemies outside the mountain gate. He also had a mystic tortoise shield in his clan, which was given to him by Adept Thunderflame when he established his Violet Palace. This thing was made from the shell of the dark-watered black turtle, a third-rank lower-grade spirit beast, and it had not been forged. He only used the smelting method to fuse some material essence into it to increase its strength. It wasn't hard for him to take the attacks of an early Zifu disciple head-on, and he would be able to hold on for a period of time against an ordinary middle Zifu disciple. Attacking Dharma artifacts were more awkward because the Blue Cloud Peak had a water and wood attribute spirit vein. These 2 attributes were not good at attacking. Even if he used flying swords with 2 different attributes, the offensive power of the array was only so. The wood element was very suitable for playing with poison, but the Clear Sky Peak was a place that the Wang clan wanted to focus on. In the future, there would be many cultivators stationed there, so it was definitely not suitable to release poison here. Moreover, the Wang clan wasn't able to find a poison that could deal with Zifu disciples. The vampiric vine alone was not enough to deal with the enemy in the air. Thus, he still needed a few flying swords. He first set up the framework of the array. In order to cover the entire Clear Sky Peak, the distance between each array core was very far. The difficulty of connecting the array cores was not much lower than when he set up the 5 elements Dragon Lock formation. He used half a year to connect all the array cores to the spirit vein and the core array core. Afterwards, he placed the mystic tortoise shield and the 6 flying swords that he took from the Jade Spring Peak at each array core. After he was done, Wang Daoyuan sat cross-legged beside the core array core and poured spiritual power into it. A layer of alternating blue and blue defensive light instantly enveloped the entire clear sky peak. With the help of the array, he used a third-rank lower-grade wood flying sword to attack a 3-meter-tall rock halfway up the mountain. Although the attack power of the wood element wasn't strong, it was still a third-rank lower-grade wood flying sword. Its power was still considerable, and the rock was directly cut in half. Seeing this, the cultivators that were spying on the clear sky peak all dispersed. With the protection of the array core, the clear sky peak's safety was guaranteed. Wang Daoyuan asked Zhao Liang to bring the disciples of the family who knew how to refine weapons over. He planned to refine the flying boat here. There was a kind of third-rank lower-grade wood on the clear sky peak called the clear sky parasol tree. The clear sky parasol tree was entirely green, and green clouds would condense on the tree crown. There were many clear sky parasol trees on the mountain, and the entire mountain peak was enveloped by the clouds produced by the clear sky parasol tree. That was how the name Clear Sky Peak came about. There were more than 10 third-ranked clear sky parasol trees on the entire mountain peak, and there were at least 1,000 second-ranked clear sky parasol trees all over the mountain. The clear sky parasol tree's strength could only be considered above average among the same grade of spirit wood, and it was far inferior to the jade bone pine. However, it was not a big problem to use it to refine a magic longsword. The clear sky parasol tree had two great advantages. First, its trunk was straight and tall, and it was quite common to see more than 500 meters tall. Second, its wood was especially suitable for spiritual power to pass through. With these two advantages, it was very suitable to refine the flying boat's keel. In fact, it was also quite good to refine the flying boat's core. However, considering the difficulty of repair, it was more suitable to refine the flying boat's core with metal materials. The material to refine the flying boat's core was naturally still star steel. There was a whole mine in Fallen Dragon Ridge, and there was as much as he wanted. Wang Daoyuan was already a third-rank weapon refiner and array master at this time, so the flying boat he refined did not need to be like before. He replaced the floating array pattern and the propulsion array pattern on the flying boat's core with third-rank array patterns. In this way, the flying boat's carrying capacity and speed would be much faster. Of course, the Netherworld sect had restrictions on the size and speed of the flying boat, so he could not break through. The flying boat could not be more than 100 meters long, and its speed could not exceed 2,000 miles in 2 hours. Wang Daoyuan decided to make a flying boat with a flat line. The length could not exceed 100 meters, so he would make it 100 meters. The length could not be increased, so in order to increase the transport capacity, he increased the width. In the end, it took half a year to refine a flying boat that was 100 meters long and more than 60 meters wide. This thing did not look like a flying boat anymore, but its functions were still there. In order to reduce the speed to 2,000 miles in 2 hours, he also reduced the number of spirit stone troughs that provided spirit stones with spirit chi. The 12th uncle was also very satisfied with this flying boat. It did not matter how it looked, as long as it was useful. Wang Daoyuan and Zhao Liang continued to refine the flying boat like this. After familiarizing themselves with the process, their speed also improved. In just 10 months, they had refined another 2 flying boats. In the past 2 years, Wang Shoujia had also led a group of juniors to set up array formations in the various spirit veins in the new territory. The migration of the family's population was basically completed, and the various industries were also on track. The Wang family's mining and spirit wood industries had more than doubled their annual income. In addition to the new shops in the Bailing market and the flying boats' transportation income, the Wang family's annual net income was now more than 100,000 spirit stones. With so many spirit stones, they could only support more than 100 cultivators, so they could have a surplus of 50,000 to 60,000 spirit stones every year. Since the important matters had been completed, Wang Daoyuan could also modify the Clear Sky Peaks array formation while he was in seclusion. The strongest point of the Greenwood illusory cloud formation was that it could create illusions that could even confuse early-stage Zifu realm cultivators. It would be a pity to give up such a powerful ability. The current array formation only had a simple framework, and its functions were all dependent on Dharma artifacts. It still had to be modified. At the very least, it had to be restored to its ability to create illusions. Wang Daoyuan did not neglect to set up the array formation and cultivate at the same time, so he spent a little more time. It took him more than a year to set up the complete version of the array formation. Of course, the Greenwood illusory cloud formation was not good at attacking. If it only relied on the array formation's own functions, it could only rely on the spellcaster to cast Dharma spells to attack. In this way, the array formation's lethality was not enough. Thus, he could not completely give up on the Dharma artifacts. The offensive and defensive capabilities of the array formation had to be supported by the Dharma artifacts. Chapter 346. There was no need to focus on one type of formation. Multiple types of formations could be used at the same time. For example, the traditional method of setting up a formation and using a Dharma artifact to suppress a formation could be used together. In the same formation, the original functions of the formation could be retained and the power of the Dharma artifacts could be used to make up for the deficiencies of the formation. The Greenwood illusory cloud formation was the most suitable formation method. In order to not affect the formation's ability to create illusions, there could not be too many formation eyes. The Greenwood illusory cloud formation had a total of 16 formation eyes. Without affecting the formation's function, at most 4 formation eyes could be used to place Dharma artifacts. Wang Daoyuan was already prepared for this. He only needed to use 3 formation eyes to place Dharma artifacts. Back in the Guiyan market, he had helped the White Fox tribe refine the demon-subduing gourd. He had used 2 Xianyuan gourds as the raw materials. He had obtained more than 10 gourd seeds from the 2 gourds and planted them in the reserved spiritual field around the life spirit fire in the spirit pearl. The gourds had already formed 3 batches. The first batch was an inferior grade tier 2 gourd, the second batch was a middle grade tier 2 gourd, and the third batch was a superior grade tier 2 gourd. Wang Daoyuan did not like the first 2 batches, so he threw them into the spirit pearl space. The third batch of superior grade tier 2 gourd was more valuable. Wang Daoyuan was currently an inferior grade tier 3 weapon refiner. Using the smelting method to extract the essence of tier 3 materials and merge them into the gourd, these superior grade tier 2 gourds could be refined into inferior grade tier 3 Dharma artifacts. Wang Daoyuan was going to refine the armor-nurturing gourd to nurture water-type and wood-type flying swords. He had gotten 6 flying swords from the 12th uncle, and there were 3 water-type and wood-type flying swords each. One armor-nurturing gourd could nurture more than 10 flying swords. 3 would be a piece of cake. The armor-nurturing gourd was the most common gourd-type Dharma artifact. He also had the refining method. The armor-nurturing gourd had to be carved with at least a spatial and armor-nurturing pattern. The spatial pattern was very easy. As long as the space inside the gourd could hold a few flying swords, it would be enough. As for the armor-nurturing pattern, it was more difficult. In order to nurture a magic item, the gourd had to be connected to the magic item. In other words, the tool nurturing pattern had to be connected to the magic item's pattern, allowing the magic item to receive the spirit energy from the tool nurturing gourd. Common artifact nurturing gourds and flying swords were all forged at the same time. The artifact nurturing gourds and flying swords artifact nurturing gourds were a complete set. It was easier to refine them. The tool nurturing gourd that he wanted to forge was not the original one. The tool patterns on the flying swords were different from each other, and the tool patterns on the tool nurturing gourd had to be adjusted slightly according to the flying swords. Otherwise, the effects of the cultivation gourd would be much worse. In addition, Wang Daoyuan wanted to use the gourd to control the flying sword. To control 3 flying swords at the same time, he only needed to use his divine sense and spiritual energy to control the artifact nurturing gourd. The consumption of divine sense was no different from controlling an ordinary Dharma artifact. This required the artifact nurturing gourd to be inscribed with the artifact nurturing gourd to control the flying sword. As a result, the difficulty of refining the artifact nurturing gourd increased exponentially. The success rate of refining a Tier 3 artifact nurturing gourd with a Tier 2 superior grade mystic essence gourd was too low. It required too many Tier 3 materials. Wang Daoyuan was also unwilling to use large amounts of Tier 3 materials. It was better to refine a Tier 2 superior grade artifact nurturing gourd. A Tier 2 superior grade artifact nurturing gourd for a Tier 3 inferior grade flying sword would definitely not be very effective, but it could still be used. The mystic essence gourd had no attributes. If he wanted to refine a water and would attribute artifact nurturing gourd, it would be best to use the smelting method to fuse them into the gourd. The Wang family had plenty of these 2 items. There were plenty of Tier 2 superior grade wood attribute artifact nurturing gourd on Clear Sky Peak. His family had mines, so Tier 2 superior grade water attribute artifact nurturing gourd wasn't a problem. He had also obtained a lot of materials at the Mirror Treasure Lake Exchange back then. Although there weren't any Tier 3 materials, there were plenty of Tier 2 materials. With sufficient materials and sufficient artifact nurturing gourd, there was still a huge demand. It was imperative to refine the artifact nurturing gourd. There were too many places to adjust the artifact nurturing gourd's pattern. Even with his Tier 3 inferior grade artifact nurturing gourd, he had failed his first 2 attempts. Wang Daoyuan did not care about this. Each of the dozens of gourd vines had produced a Tier 2 superior grade gourd. He only needed to succeed twice out of the dozens of gourds. On his 3rd attempt, he finally succeeded in refining a Tier 2 wood attribute artifact nurturing gourd and kept the 3 flying swords. He tried to activate the artifact nurturing gourd and injected spiritual energy into the flying swords through the artifact nurturing gourd. There was no problem with the artifact nurturing gourd. He activated the artifact nurturing gourd and the 3 flying swords flew out. As long as he controlled the artifact nurturing gourd, he would be able to do it with ease. The consumption of spiritual energy was slightly lower than controlling 3 flying swords at the same time. The consumption of spiritual energy was even lower. It was equivalent to controlling a single flying sword. The effect was pretty good. When the gourd vines produced a Tier 3 inferior grade gourd, he would definitely refine an artifact nurturing gourd for himself. He was not afraid of spiritual energy consumption, but he was afraid of overusing his spiritual energy. The recovery speed of his spiritual energy would be too slow. It was great that the artifact nurturing gourd could conserve spiritual energy. Furthermore, this artifact nurturing gourd was used in conjunction with the array formation and did not care about spiritual energy consumption at all. It was fine as long as it could conserve the spiritual energy consumption of the person guarding the array formation. With a successful experience, the water attribute artifact nurturing gourd was no longer difficult and was quickly refined. Wang Daoyuan casually threw the gourd seeds that he took out during the refinement into the spirit field of Blue Cloud Peak. Blue Cloud Peak had a wood attribute spirit vein and was suitable for planting spirit plants. He originally wanted to refine a demon subduing gourd to hold the array formation, but the probability of demon beasts appearing here was extremely low and it was not particularly useful. Rather than refining a demon subduing gourd, it was better to refine a man subduing gourd. However, he did not have the refining method for a man subduing gourd. He could place a few demon subduing gourds at Fallen Dragon Ridge. There were many demon beasts there and he could capture some to exchange for spirit stones. The 2 gourd Dharma artifacts were refined. With the two gourds and the mystic turtle shield holding the array formation, the power of the greenwood illusory cloud array had reached the limits of what he could do. There was nothing important for him to deal with in the clan, so he cultivated at Blue Cloud Peak. There was no significant difference in spiritual energy between a 9th-level Foundation Establishment cultivator and an ordinary Peak Foundation Establishment cultivator. Therefore, from the 9th-level Foundation Establishment cultivator to the Peak Foundation Establishment cultivator could not completely rely on hard work. He also needed to comprehend. The best way to gain enlightenment was through battle. He also often ran to the heaven/mountain range to provoke superior grade class 2 demon beasts and fight them to increase his comprehension. He could not waste the demon beasts he killed and brought them back to Blue Cloud Peak to roast their meat. Now that the clan had many flying boats and Yunyi did not have any business, she stayed at Blue Cloud Peak and relied on roasted meat to eat. Apart from battle, cultivating alchemy, smithing, and talisman arrays was also beneficial for increasing one's comprehension. Wang Daoyuan used the useless middle-grade class 2 mystic essence gourds that he had thrown in his space to refine a few spatial dharma artifacts to hold wine. Gourds were suitable for refining spatial dharma artifacts. It was not difficult to refine a wine gourd that was comparable to a spirit beast pouch. Half a year after refining the artifact nurturing gourd, Wang Daoyuan killed a superior grade class 2 wild boar in the heaven/mountain range and returned to Blue Cloud Peak to roast it. Wang Daoxing rushed over from Jade Spring Peak because he wanted to see the power of the array formation on behalf of the clan leader. Wang Daoyuan naturally did not believe his nonsense. If he wanted to see the power of the array formation, he should have come over as soon as the array formation was set up. What's more, what would second brother know if he was the one doing it? He could not withstand the power of a class 3 array formation even if he tried it himself. After Wang Daoxing saw Wang Daoyuan, he tore off a pork leg from the freshly roasted wild boar and ate. After he ate for a while, Wang Daoyuan asked, "Tell me, what are you doing here? Don't talk to me about the array formation. If you wanted to see the power of the array formation, you would have come long ago. Why wait half a year? Besides, if they wanted to see the array formation, they would send someone who knows it. Why would they send you?" Chapter 347. Wang Daoxing smiled and said, "12th uncle heard that you've refined a few second-tier mid-grade wine gourds. He said that he's the patriarch of the Zifu clan. The wine gourd he's using now is a first-tier storage magic tool with a very small space. So, he wants to exchange it with you for a second-tier mid-grade wine gourd. He'll try his best to give you whatever you want." Wang Daoyuan glanced at him and said, "This is a small matter. It's not worth sending you here. What else do you want?" He began to falter. After a long time, he said with a distressed expression, "I still have some things to ask you. It just so happens that 12th uncle has something to do, so I came over. When you and 12th uncle tried to persuade me to marry Liang Zian, it really hurt me. The two of them didn't say a word the whole day. They just stared at each other, not even in the mood to cultivate. It's not convenient to tell 12th uncle about this, so I can only ask you for advice." Wang Daoyuan looked at him with a strange expression. "Second brother, are you kidding me? You have a Dao companion, and you're asking me, a century-old pure yang, how to get along with a woman?" Wang Daoxing scratched his head and said, "You've been resourceful since you were young. Help me come up with some ideas." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Then I'll give you an idea. Between husband and wife, there should always be some common topics. With common topics, there will be something to talk about." Wang Daoxing heard that there was hope and hurriedly asked, "How can we have common topics?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Common topics require common interests." Wang Daoxing said dejectedly, "My only hobby is fighting. What common interests do I have with a woman?" Wang Daoyuan said with a naughty smile, common interests can be cultivated. Then, he handed 2 roasted wild boar kidneys to Wang Daoxing. Eat these 2 wild boar kidneys. When we go back, we'll have common interests. Wang Daoxing was skeptical, but he took the wild boar kidneys and ate them. This level 2 upper grade wild boar was 30 to 40 feet long, and its kidneys were not small either. Each of them was more than 3 feet long, and its effects were probably not weak. Fortunately, second brother walked the path of body refinement. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to eat 2 kidneys. Wang Daoyuan handed over a wine gourd and a dozen stalks of drunken dragon grass to him and said, "Give the drunken dragon grass to 12th uncle and let him research the drunken dragon brew. Treat it as an exchange for this wine gourd. I'll ask Yun Yi to send you back. Remember to immediately return to the Immortal's cave to see second sister-in-law after you're done. Don't go to cultivate or fight. Otherwise, you won't have a common hobby." Back then, he had made a deal with the old drunkard in the Netherworld sex equipment forging hall. If he helped him forge a flying boat, the old drunkard would give him the seeds of drunken dragon grass. After that, he did not go back on his words and gave Wang Daoyuan 20 to 30 seeds. Wang Daoyuan planted the seeds of the drunken dragon grass in the spiritual bead space, in the reserved spiritual field near the life spiritual fire. The drunken dragon grass was a 3rd-level low-grade spiritual medicine. However, it did not take long to grow. It only needed 50 to 60 years to harvest. Although the spiritual medicine needed to brew the drunken dragon brew was very widespread, he really did not know the specific ratio. This was left to the 12th uncle, the professional, to do. Hearing that they could have a common hobby when they returned, Wang Daoxing quickly agreed. After the man and tiger left, Wang Daoyuan sighed. This second brother was really stupid. He had already married Liang Xian for more than 2 years, but he still did not know anything. When he returned, he had to help him refine a few kinds of medicinal pills to nourish his body. It was really hard to be a brother. He still had to worry about second brother. Wang Daoyuan patted his head and said, "Why didn't I think of refining this kind of medicinal pill before? The number of cultivators in the clan is too small. Wouldn't it be enough to refine this kind of medicinal pill and promote it among the clan members?" These years, the number of cultivators in the clan had increased rapidly, but it still could not keep up with the clan's expansion needs. In the past, he only thought of distributing spiritual grains to pregnant cultivators and close relatives. He did not think of doing it from other places. This time, he came up with this method to help second brother solve the problem. Thinking about it, he was a dignified punishment elder, whose status was comparable to the patriarch and the grand elder. He had never cared about the matters of the punishment hall and had always taken the work of other elders. The work of the Spirit Talisman Hall, the Refining Hall, the Medicinal Pill Hall, and the Formation Division were all taken by him. Now, he had to take the work of the General Affairs Hall to solve the clan's population problem. He was really worried about the clan. The medicinal pill he wanted to refine was called the Blood Strengthening and Qi Replenishing Pill. It was mainly used to nourish qi and blood and had a strong tonic effect on some internal organs. The main ingredient of the blood strengthening and qi replenishing pill was the blood essence of a second-rank demonic beast. It did not need to have a high cultivation level. The supplementary ingredients were some spiritual medicines to replenish qi and blood and strengthen the body. Wang Daoyuan had all these things. It turned out that he had collected a lot of medicinal pills to nourish Dahei's body. Now, he did not plant them in the space of the spiritual pearl, but he kept the seeds. These spiritual medicines were all first-rank, and they could be planted in first-rank spiritual fields. The clan took back the territory occupied by the Liang family for hundreds of years, and suddenly there were hundreds of acres of spiritual fields. 100 or 200 acres of first-rank spiritual fields were set aside to plant these spiritual medicines. There were still a few second-rank low-grade pill refiners in the clan's refining hall, and it was not difficult to refine them. In the future, they could refine them in large quantities and give them to the clan members who had Dao companions for free. In particular, those cultivators who had more concubines could be given 2 portions. In any case, this medicine was not a tiger or wolf medicine, but a pure tonic. It was even beneficial to cultivation, but it was a little too nourishing. The best source of blood essence was a demonic beast with abundant qi and blood like the fierce blood boar. However, the Wang family currently had to raise a large number of fierce blood boars, which was not reliable. They needed to set up a formation, and there must be a foundation establishment cultivator watching the formation at all times to suppress the fierce blood boars. It was not that the Wang family did not have a source of second-rank low-grade demonic beasts, so there was no need to waste energy raising fierce blood boars. Although there were not many second-rank demonic beasts and edible spiritual beasts for sale in Heian County, it was not a big problem to buy some to extract the blood essence and refine pills. However, it was a little difficult to transport the second-rank low-grade demonic beasts back. It was definitely unrealistic to put them in the flying boat. If these things resisted, the flying boat would be overturned. If the demonic beasts resisted, they would not be able to be put in the spirit beast pouch. Even if they were put in the spirit beast pouch after being knocked unconscious, they would still cause a ruckus when they woke up. The strength of the spirit beast pouch was not high. For safety reasons, Wang Daoyuan decided to refine a few second-rank low-grade demonic gourds that could subdue second-rank low-grade demonic beasts. After finishing these things, Wang Daoyuan also refined a few batches of blood-strengthening and qi-replenishing pills. Afterwards, he returned to the Jade Spring Peak and told the elders his idea. After returning to the Jade Spring Peak, he asked the 12th uncle to gather the elders. After the elders arrived, Dao Yuan took out the blood-strengthening and qi-replenishing pills and said to the 12th uncle and the elders, "I thought of a good method to quickly increase the number of cultivators in the family. This is a kind of medicinal pill I refined, called the blood-strengthening and qi-replenishing pill. It has the effect of replenishing qi and blood and strengthening the body. In addition, there are some small side effects. The medicinal effect is too strong, so cultivators who have not taken a wife should not eat it. I suggest that the family buy more supplementary ingredients for the blood-strengthening and qi-replenishing pills. In the future, the refining hall will refine them in large quantities and give them to the clansmen who have taken a wife and concubines for free. The main ingredient is the blood essence of second-rank low-grade demonic beasts, which can be purchased from the river Yang County. In order to make it easier to bring back living demonic beasts, I also refined a few demonic gourds. In addition, I suggest that the family issue a reward policy for cultivators. Children with spiritual roots will be rewarded. The more children they have, the more rewards they will receive. They can even directly give contribution points. Jiugu and the other female elders were embarrassed, but the male elders were very interested. The 12th uncle thought for a while and said with a smile, "This suggestion is not bad. The number of new cultivators in the family will definitely increase a lot in the future. Now, the family has a surplus of tens of thousands of spirit stones every year. Instead of putting the spirit stones in the treasury, it is better to use them to strengthen the family. Elders, what do you think? You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.